So, good morning and welcome. This is TV. We are live here at Freedom FM. We are live here at Freedom FM where the Minister of Finance and Development Planning, Minister Samuel D TWEH, is appearing live on the Freedom Morning Rise. So you can see the dress in Morocco. Okay, the minister just arrived here.
All what the Minister of Finance has been doing, looking at the fiscal aspect of our country in terms of the finances and all of that. So he's the official person, and he understands how all the issues are being handled, and so he's going to be our guest here. Just so you know, Puma FM in Bombay County is relaying the broadcast. Atina Radio in Grand Coup County is also relaying. Smile FM in Grand Gide, Atlantic Radio in Kakata Mandibi County, the list of other radio stations across Liberia, Prime FM in Monrovia, also going to join us on the broadcast to extend the broadcast through the relaying process as we play host to the Minister of Finance of the Republic of Liberia, Hon Samuel D TWEH. You listen to Liberians, there are a lot of things being said, a lot of things happening, people complain, and people try to understand, some try not to understand, and you have a very, very complicated issue where people sometimes take to a point to say, this is what is happening, and someone will say, this is what is happening, and this is what exactly we've observed. So the man responsible within the George Weah-led administration for all of what people are saying, the exchange rate has dropped, but yesterday you have commodities, you have all the issues in the country. So he's going to explain more to us about this process. Why is it we're moving towards the season, right? You have the season. Christmas is just next month, and we're experiencing some of the issues and experiencing some of the things that are happening currently. So he's going to be here with us shortly as we talk about the economy. We talk about the progress made by the government in terms of the recent MCC report, scorecard, you may call it, and we look at how the government is prepared to fight corruption. She continues to fight corruption. What are the cases that the government can boast of? What are some of the things that the government can say, yeah, we've been able to do this in the lives of the citizens? Looking at almost most of the areas within his scope of operations here this morning on the show. And I'm told, from what I'm seeing, the broadcast will also be on the list of other radio stations and that of online TV as well. I can see Spoon TV, Sam TV, and I'll just get the names of all the TV that are here this morning, so we can let the people know as to.
I think we have to make space for the media media, our media colleagues who've come to relay or broadcast this program live as well. So we hope our protocol guys out there will be able to create the necessary space. We have enough space here to accommodate the Minister of Finance, and we also have to create space to accommodate our media colleagues who've come to carry the program. So we don't.
Certainly, like you said. So we try. The Minister of Finance is already in our building, but there are adjustments being made. So we're trying to get some things in order. Shortly, we will have the minister with us here. The broadcast is also live on KMTV, Spoon TV, Sam TV, Front Page Africa TV. You have CDC TV. Yes, and for those of you watching, and you will have us live on the TV stations we just talked about. As we continue, we start the conversation here with the Minister of Finance, Republic of Liberia, Minister Samuel TWEH.
Normally these kinds of conversations are very necessary, and what is the sector that is more interested will be obviously those individuals below the margin. And so the widest medium through which our public officials communicate to the public, obviously the radio remains the biggest and widest channel. And so when you hear that the Minister of Finance responsible for fiscal management of the country is appearing, obviously they'll get tuned in. And they expect to hear the real issues being presented to him. They expect the sincerest of response coming from him. They want to see themselves in their thoughts reflected in what comes from him as well. And so everybody will be eager to hear the detour they used to hear it. And so that's what makes this interview extraordinary. So it's not a normal, the regular conversation around the economy. This is an extraordinary conversation about the economy because we will be focusing on some specific issues that affect the lives of the ordinary people. And so we're not going to be in a space that will see him speak to the understanding of those of you down there. He's not going to be speaking to the economists or to the consciences of the politicians. He's going to be speaking to you in the Mandra market. Those of you way there in Newtown, you want to know how the economy is performing. You want to know what's the performance in terms of job creation. You want to know what the performance of the government in terms of dispersing your salary on time. And like you said, the festive season is fast approaching. We're moving to the Christmas, especially in November 29th. It's not holiday that's celebrated across the country. The normal and the regular civil servants will be interested in. I want TP. I'm not taking P. What am I taking P? Timely disbursement of salary. There are too many things. We hope the 2 hours will be able to contain some of the key sector of the economy, especially the ones that fall within the confines of the fiscal management of our country, which we presides over. So we want to make it less political and more conversational.
Liberians will love to understand what are some of the reasons to have us to where we are in terms of what's happening concerning the U.S. and the Liberian dialogues, right?
Sure.
In some cases, you go in some of the areas, you listen to Liberians. Some people express disappointment, and some people express maybe satisfaction as to a point to say, oh, the government is working to get these things in order. Oh, well, yesterday you have, portion of the society. So maybe they are the main players, right? They know the measures they put in place as to this entire thing. And some of the things we're going to be talking about as well here this morning has to do with the COVID-19 funding, right? That was being given to the government of Liberia. And what did the people do with it? The audit report, you heard about the audit report, right? And some allegations being leveled against the minister and other issues. We would like to ask the hard questions so that Liberians will understand what are the issues and what's the way forward and how the government intend to get rid of this entire thing. Yes, yesterday, was it yesterday or day before we heard that CBL came up, they said they were putting in place measures, working with the banks. We want to know how strong it is in terms of the partnership, the collaboration with commercial banks as to a point with the government as to work out things, the way they are to be, as to make the people to understand. But I don't know if you've observed this issue, Austin, and this is what I think has caught my attention. If I might not be 100%, but to a point that whenever we get closer to the Christmas, you have a lot of implications. Some of the implications are negative, some of them are positive, right? So you either have maybe the rate giving you a problem,
yes,
or you either have something else happen. So yes, so that's how it is totally. So for us to let me say this thing: when you hosting B-Man, there are a lot of procedures involved. So shortly, the Minister of Finance will be here with us. I can confirm to you, Puma FM in Bombay County is really in the broadcast. Atina Radio in Grand Coup, Smile FM in Grand Jide. We have currently with us here in our main studios KMTV, Spoon TV, Sam TV, Front Page Africa TV, CDC TV, Peace FM in Habel, Margibi County is also relaying. Atlantic Radio in Kakata, Margibi County is also relaying the broadcast. And in Monrovia, I can say for sure, Strong FM is relaying, and that of Prime FM is also relaying the broadcast this morning. So the list of radio stations across the country, and shortly we'll give you names of radio stations from Bangabon County and from other counties that are also relaying the broadcast as to extend to you some of the issues we're going to be discussing as we play host to the Minister of Finance, Republic of Liberia, Minister Samuel D TWEH, who's responsible most especially for the fiscal aspect of the government in terms of what are the issues to be done. Sorry, we need to do this, a little bit of adjustment here, okay? Sorry folks. Okay, my God. This is too bad, all right? Okay. Okay, thank you. I think we are all set. For those of you just joining us, or you've been with us, you've been announcing that from the host of the Minister of Finance of the Republic of Liberia, Minister Samuel D TWEH. Let me firstly say good morning to our media colleagues who are here with us from other institutions. Those of you really in the broadcast from other institutions across the country, we would like to extend our greetings to you people and say thank you for joining us this morning as you read the broadcast. But first of all, we'd like to say good morning to you, Minister Samuel D TWEH. Thank you for coming and seeing you this morning, very energetic like you always been. Good morning and welcome to the show.
Good morning, good morning to the Liberian people. Good morning to the Freedom FM family. Every morning I pass right at your junction here on my way to work. And I've never been in your studio. I'm actually radio shy. I've never been in more than 4 radio studios to do interviews. So I did okay, I did here, I did 2 LBC in almost 3 years. So I'm quite conservative when it comes to appearing on. But it's great to come and chat on a number of fiscal, financial issues, and broader economic issues. Use the opportunity to clarify fake news, lies, propaganda, and all of that stuff that pollute public discourse every now and then. You know, you see people carrying misinformation around to mislead our Liberian people. Anytime I appear, I make it my responsibility to really make clear what are the reality, what is the reality, what are the facts. So let people go on the facts and use that to make judgment, make decisions about their country. So it's quite an opportunity to be here. Thank you.
Thank you very much for also honoring our invite. We're looking at the time we need to run into some of the issues that we're going to be discussing today. First of all, Minister TWEH, can you tell us how is the economy?
So the economy is holding steady. When you're talking about country's economy now, we have to reference the external economies because it does seem like most of the impact on African economies, including Liberia's, will going forward between now and next year depends on the global economy that is being hit hard by COVID. You're aware that the impact of COVID in the United States, in Europe, particularly hard. So the IMF has revised the global growth projection downward because of those external factors. And in Liberia here, we've reduced our projection in Liberia because of those external factors. You'll see that clearly spelled out in the next IMF Article 4 document that comes out. We're looking at a negative 2.5, we're now negative 3, principally because of the external factors. But other than that, you know, we've done pretty well. You know, we've beat expectation relative to COVID in Liberia. So in February and March, when we're looking at this time and thinking about what the numbers would be like, we're more pessimistic. Whether from budget performance, from revenue, and all of our estimates were more dire in March. We stand today, we look back at where we were in March, we say we beat our expectations, you know. On the fiscal side, you know, we ended a strong fiscal year relative to the previous one where we're in a lot of crisis and a lot of protests. We ended a stronger year where we had a surplus. So we managed fiscally well, we managed revenue well. And I think it's the outlook now going into next year is where I think we're going to see positive growth.
Okay.
That depends again on the severity and the longevity of the COVID crisis affecting the mature economies, the big economies. So, but we're hopeful that you know, things will be well. Things will be well. So the economy is holding steady. We're doing quite well.
And certainly, we want to get some statistics and also look at you know, the elaborate economy under the past government, which is the UP government, faced uncertainty at the time due to declined money exports and all the kinds of things. And all. There were projections, and they didn't do well. We had 0.0%, and projection that when the government, or maybe 2019 to 2020, there will be a lot of growth, 1.6. And I want to ask you, Minister, which type of economy do we have in Liberia, and how is it working?
We have an import-based economy that depends on importing everything, and so and exporting raw materials. So when the prices of raw materials are high, like iron ore and rubber, we tend to do well. When they go down, when they collapse, and then we struggle a little bit. So that's what economists call commodity dependence.
Okay.
So that's basically the structure of our economy, mainly exportation of raw materials, import of goods and services. The basic problem we have to solve, the basic economic problem, you know, we have several problems we're solving in Liberia. We solve political problems. We went to war, we talk about rights. So it seems like we got a handle on our political problem in terms of democracy, so that one man can stay in power for 20 years. That was a long time, that was a problem. So we've had political problems, we have economic problem. The basic economic problem that we have to solve is to stop importing everything and start producing it, especially food items. That problem is a structural problem. Unless you handle that structural problem, many of the things we talk about here today will continue to happen. So what we can only do, it's like you have a cancer or you have an ailment, but you're not treating it. You're trying to just, treat it in a way that it's not going to go away. It will come back after 6 months. You do small thing and you don't cure it. So the cure for our economic problem is the structural diversification of our economy where, and I'm glad now, rubber, for example, we're beginning to, I was talking to one of the major rubber, I think Harrison County yesterday. I think he's the only one trying to add value to rubber. He's the only one buying now. So I asked him, I said, well, you've been in this sector for 40 years long. Why you didn't, what you're doing now, why you didn't do, you say, my brother, our generation owe you an apology. Because basically we just kept the economy the way it is. But before we leave this earth, that was a statement to me yesterday, we're trying to correct. So you see, that's why I have my plant, and even now I'm struggling. So he's struggling because Firestone is not buying, and there's a glut of rubber on the market. He needs to export, but he doesn't have the financial capacity to export. So we need to bring him in contact with a bank or banking institutions who are afraid that when they lend money to the sector, they don't get their money back. So how do we solve that problem? The way to solve that problem is to put a facility, a framework together where they give him money, he takes that money and exports buys from all the rubber growers, because that means cash in the economy. He buys from them, process, and then exports, gets his price, because he tells me the price is 1,000. He's buying, so he's talking about huge profit. There's massive profit he can make. But the guy who has the potential to make massive profit is struggling to get credit from the center. So the Ministry of Finance, other sectors, players have to work to intermediate there. So that was the conversation. Just to say that we need more of that framework in the rubber sector. We need more in the manufacturing sector to add value to rubber, add value to the iron ore, to create these industries here so that foreign exchange, we become net foreign exchange and about exporting value-added stuff. And not just the raw latex that goes away. We don't get the full. In fact, he told me another one, they call it the rib smoke sheet. It's more money, but it needs more investment to get that more money.
How much are we talking about?
No, I won't be able to say the exact amount.
Is it a long-term something, or just in the shortest possible time?
Yeah, in 2 years he was able to establish this rubber plant, right? In 4 years from now, 2 years from now, we probably will see more. So the problem we are solving is that diversification. When you solve that diversification with rice, for example, if we're importing all the rice we eat basically now, our goal is to reduce that import. When we reduce that import and allow expansion of local production of rice, then we partly solve that problem. So that when anybody asks you what is the problem we have, economic problem we have, these are the problems. The macroeconomic thing we talk about, liquidity, all these exchange rates, are fundamental functions of those problems. If you solve those problems, you have more US dollar in the economy.
And how do problems can be solved?
No, that's what I'm explaining to you now. It can be solved by making sure that you produce here.
Yes.
You grow more rice here. So we're spending, let's say if we're supposed to spend $150 million to import rice. The people who are bringing that rice, they are looking for 150 million United States dollars to bring that rice, okay? How do they get it? They need to exchange Liberian dollar for US dollar. They need to buy US dollars, all right? So that's that. Imagine if they did not have to buy that 150 US dollar for the rice purpose and were down here locally, they were just staying here. You don't have foreign exchange pressure. So there will be, so in other words, if we solve the rice problem, all the rice importers will not go into the foreign exchange market to get US dollar to bring in rice. So we solve that part. That means more macro or more foreign exchange stability. So that's a structural issue that we need to spend some time, talking about how we're doing, what kind of policies we put in place to make sure we grow our rice, to make sure we export cassava, to make sure we grow pepper here. Those are the things. Those are the heavy lifting.
Okay.
The other things that will just be the same thing where, okay, we continue to look for US dollar and bring rice here, we eat it. We'll do that thing for the next 10 years, nothing's going to change. We start the same problems recurring. Unless we solve the structural problem, which the president, the government are committed to, there are new rounds of conversation to see how we pursue this structural diversification.
Mr. That's what was coming in, because we continue to hear people talking about investing in agriculture and investing in agriculture. Now, you need to give us or present to us a clear-cut structural approach that drills through a practical step that the government has taken or that the government is considering taking to address these fundamental issues of the economy.
Yeah, and it's a very good question. And first, from the government perspective, to invest in agriculture, government needs money. So there are many sources of money for agriculture, right? Money from the government budget, which is very limited now, tight because of the way the budget is. Monies that come from the African Development Bank and the World Bank, there are these projects that are ongoing, right? So say grants and concessional loans that come to fund agriculture projects, other NGOs type, money from banks. Banks are sitting on vault cash, but let me tell you that money is not making its way into agriculture because of risk. The banks think that when they put their money into agriculture, they don't get it back. So they don't see agriculture as a profitable, especially food agriculture. But not even that, even rubber agriculture. So technically they're not even putting money into rubber agriculture because the rubber people are crying right now. So there's a problem here that we're trying to solve. So those are the sources of money. From the budget, the government doesn't have the money to put into agriculture because the budget is difficult. There are too many competing priorities. We identify resources in the current budget. We have 1.6 million, but there are many things. So what we're doing now is continue to save. When you see us doing all these things about saving money, is to create space. Wage right now is $292 million. We brought it down from 317 million. Now it's around 324 million. It's now to 292 million. So we've got some savings. When that saving happening, we're able to look into that saving and do something for education, for health, for agriculture. That's it. But somebody say, why don't you just take $20 million and put in agriculture? Where is that 20 million going to come from? You don't just look in the budget and take 20 million. If I took 20 million from the budget right now, any 20 million you find in the budget is tied to something, somebody's salary, some sector. That means I will have to lay off some government workers. We have to reduce expenses. That's it. You don't have free money in the budget to just take. So people need to understand, say why, if you say why you don't just take, there's no money sitting down for the government to just take 20 million.
Does that mean we have to source funding from extraordinary sources?
Yeah, so I just named all the sources now. I said government. So I don't want people, so leave the government's budget process because you don't have 20 million to put there. That means the money that is coming from the World Bank, the African Development Bank, they've been bringing some good amount of money. The agriculture sector has never lacked money. What it has lacked is the organization of those resources. So what we're doing with our development partners is to put in place a new regime along with the new Minister of Agriculture. She's developed a new plan, and the idea is that value for money, the money that we have in agriculture should solve our rice problem, should solve our food security problem. In the next 3 years, we can't say we spend 200 million in agriculture and we still say we are food insecure. All right, so we need to solve those basic food problems. That is what we're rolling up. We are cooking that soup now. While we're cooking it, we can't eat it. In other words, you can't ask for the result when the food is on the fire. Wait. So I'll plead to the Liberian people is to give the Minister of Agriculture a chance, give the government a chance. Let's package all of these programs. There are a lot of stakeholders here. The bank, the African Development Bank, the multilateral institutions, the private sector, the banks who are sitting on vault cash. We're asking them, why are you sitting on vault cash when you should be making? So I give you the example of rubber. Rubber price, they're selling the export $1,100. You're buying it from the local man here, $500, let's say. What profit there? $500 per ton profit. So if you, Seku, able to ship that, if you're able to buy 100 ton, right? Imagine that's a lot of profit for you. All right, 1,000, 2,000, 10,000 ton of rubber. You ship that, you got zillions of dollars here, US dollar in the economy. You pay all your loan, everything, you end up with profit. But this man is still struggling. So it's counterintuitive in economics to see that where there is a profit incentive, the banking sector is not going there. Maybe they're not going there because of the history. When you look at that history, they put money in that sector and the money has not come. But let me tell you the kind of money they put there. The money that went in that sector before, it went to pay salary.
Okay.
Some of these rubber people took money to pay workers, and that's not an investment. When you take money and pay workers with it, you basically not investing in anything. You are consuming that. So that's what. So we're trying to, and then we're working with the IFC also, the International Finance Corporation.
Okay.
Yeah, to provide find some facility. There used to be a facility of 25 million for the rubber planters. We're working with them along with the Ministry of Agriculture to bring that back on the table. So there are these financing solutions that we're framing up as a government, all our development partners. But we can say that we're turning a corner with this structural approach that we're delivering.
Just a follow-up to that, on that note, before we welcome our colleague Odawakan who's joined us, I'd like to read this and then ask your response. The growth forecast by the World Bank, the IMF, says we are expected to have a V-shaped economy by 2021. And the growth is expected to hover around 3%, but it's contingent on many factors, including the economy, the investment into key sectors like the agriculture sector that just spoke about, creating which is expected to create jobs, and then along the value chain. Now, social services. I'd like you to tell us clearly government's intervention in this sector, provision of social services. Where are we with this?
So, a government is only as good in social service if it has the fiscal space to deliver.
Don't we have?
No. So we are delivering social service. So social services is like education, healthcare, the social sector, right? If you look at what is government delivering in education, what is government delivering in health, what is government delivering in social protection, okay? The business climate, what are the basics? I mean, when people go to register business, what kind of, so that whole spectrum of services, you will see something, you're definitely going to see some improvement in that area. For example, under the recent MCC scorecard, which I know
we're going to reach to that
later, we passed gender in the economy, all right? For the first, I think in 4 or 5 years, we've not passed that. So we've just passed that. We're making concerted effort. We have a gender-sensitive process. So in other words, we're targeting public spending in key areas, spending for the vulnerable and under social sector. We're trying to increase that. Education, you see a lot of outputs going up. We're talking about constructing new schools. We're talking about closing the teacher gap. Right now, there are about 1,000 or 1,500 teachers that are up for retirement, okay? And I've just been told by the experts that we're managing with the Ministry of Education to transition them. If you retire them now, do you have the quality of teachers to bring them to replace them? So that replacement has to happen. But the teacher gap is still large. Do we have the money to close the teacher gap? They need around 6,000 more teachers. We don't have the money for that. So technically, we are underperforming in that area because we don't have the money to pay 6,000 more teachers that can close the gap. All right. So in health, obviously, yes, we have to solve the maternal mortality problem. Right. So every time a woman goes to give birth, we want her to survive. The numbers are being high in Liberia. All right. Relative to our comparators, we're not doing too well in that area. That means we have to focus on midwives. And this is why we're targeting midwives, put more resources on midwives. So again, in the health sector, there have been a lot of resources like in the agriculture sector. But our thing is that the way we have managed those resources, and those resources have been managed by our partners, we have a new aid management policy. We have, under the Paris Accord, we have now developed a new policy to say, look, if there's money in agriculture, there's money in health, we want it to be spent in a way that solves the problem. And I think all of our partners are on board now. This is what we call aid coordination. Where aid is not coordinated effectively, that money can be there and you're not solving the problem. So we want to solve maternal mortality. We say when we want to bring that the rate down from around, I think it's around 700 per 10,000 persons are dying to around 500 or 300. In Rwanda, that number is around 300 women are dying per 10,000 women who go to give birth. We want to bring our own ratio down to Rwanda's. But to do that, we need to put more resources in that. So our question for the government is, when you are spending money in health, are you spending the money on the midwives who you say are critical to bring down that target? In education, are you spending the money to solve the girls who are dropping out of school, their problem? Because again, if girls drop out of school, you know the consequences from there. Are you preventing that? I'm being told by the Ministry of Education now that that's where the money is going to be spent. So it takes time to do all these re-engineering. So some of our problem is not just that we don't have the money. We've had the money, but the money is being tailored in a way that's not logically tied to the delivery of our results we want. The conversation on our new aid management framework in all these sectors is to work with our partners to deliver those critical results. Infant mortality, child stunting, undernutrition. If you notice, children are shocked in Liberia. So you see a 13-year-old, a 14-year-old person, they like the age of a 6-year-old. That's child stunting. They say 30% of our population is stunted due to malnourishment and all that stuff. So we've got a lot of work to do, a lot of work. So the question is, if resources are tight from the government end and we are getting resources sometimes from our NGOs, from our partners, we need to align it such that we are really bending the arc in solving these problems. We're doing a better job of that as a country now than we used to. Under the new aid management policy, you'll take the time and read it. What it says is that, and we'll come to even some of the COVID thing, we'll talk about that. It's to say, government, partners, everybody sit around the table. From one template, let's spend the resources this way to solve this problem. We will improve our social service delivery capability if we did that. But the government is doing okay, giving the resource envelope that it has in all of these areas. Transport, you saw we put up 40 buses on the road. How many buses? We're trying to increase that, to increase the transportation pressure in the country. All these things take resources. The more resources you have, the more you're able to do. Yeah, that's why people should pay the taxes.
Our colleague just joined us, Oliver Khan, who runs the afternoon show. He just joined us on the show. So he's going to be with us. So we move to the next issue here, Minister. The issue about the current rate in the country, the scarcity of Liberian dollars to that of the US dollars. What's happening? What's the government doing? They said that the government is doing these things so that people can say, oh, the government is working, the rate has dropped.
Okay, so this is a good place to speak in a way that people understand. Sometimes people say government, and it's very, when you say government, you say, let's talk about who's holding money first of all. Before I answer that question, who's holding? Government, the resources that the government have, like money, the taxes you pay, all right? The money the government holding, that you can call government money, the money the government holding, are under the government consolidated account. Meaning when you pay your tax, the money goes into that account, and that account is managed at the Central Bank of Liberia, right? So let's say if there's 60 million in their consolidated account today, that 60 million is sitting at the Central Bank. That's money that everybody paying the taxes is going to. All right, there are monies in reserve at the Central Bank for the government. So when you say government money, that the money you're talking about there, managed by the Central Bank, she's keeping it. To take that money from there, you have to pass through the Ministry of Finance. You have to do payment voucher, where IAA, internal auditors, different compliance people will have to sign and check all these things. It has to come to me as minister. I have to find that we have the money in the budget. When we sign it, you write that check, you go to the Central Bank, then that money leaves the consolidated account. That's the process. So no money can leave the Central Bank. Somebody just go to the Central Bank and take it from there. You have to begin with the Ministry of Finance and do all that paper trail. IA people got to say, oh no, they want me there. PBCC people got to say, oh this. All that paperwork, it comes to the Ministry of Finance. The minister signs it. It goes to the controller. Controller writes a check. Then it says, Seku, please give Seku $50,000. Then Seku carry it to, or the ministry to pay Seku. Ministry of Health will carry it to. So I want to probably understand when say government money, that's government money.
Okay.
Samuel TWEH personal money, Seku personal money is not government money. It's my personal money. When the government pays me my check, when I go deposit it to UBA or EcoBank, that's my money. That's not government money. I have control over my money. So there are 5 million people in the country now, right? All the money held by all the businesses, all the individuals is under their jurisdiction. It's not under the government. They have rights to those monies. Typically, those monies should be kept where? In the bank, right? So if it's in the bank, what the government can do, they control the government. The government ain't got control over money. The government has control over policy. The government can find policy, for example, as Minister of Finance, we can decide that we are no longer going to be paying United States dollars, we're going to be paying Liberian dollar. That's a policy decision the government can make. So if we're paying you $100 today, we give it to you. Tomorrow morning, the president can decide, let's shift to 50-50. When you go to your bank account, you will see $50, you will see the equivalent in Liberian dollar. That's in the government's control. Where you keep that money, how you spend it, is not controlled by the government. It's controlled by you, the individual. There's some misunderstanding about that. So I see people say, where play the money at? This money here, when you're asking for where play at, the government own is sitting in the bank, in the consolidated, in the reserve. They want the government own. The other money is in the hands, pockets of people, hands of businesses who are keeping it in the bank or somewhere. So when we look in the bank today, when we don't see the quantum of Liberian dollar that's supposed to be there, it means it is outside the bank. All right? And we know you can't spend Liberian dollar in Guinea, you can't spend it in Ghana, so we have to reasonably assume, it's a very reasonable assumption that it is here, because you can't take it Turkey, because nobody will use it there. So it has to be here. There are motives for which people are keeping it out. Economists, they study all of those. The money is in the country. It is not anywhere. The strategy for monetary policy, fiscal policy, and the bank is to ensure that you create a way where people are comfortable to bring the money. And you know what happened here in the last 2 years? Clearly, it's a confidence issue also. You can agree. Right? With all of the 16 billion lies, all of these things will make people say, well, you know, all that stuff is all, you know, some of them know the propaganda, some of them don't know, they don't know what happened, because there's too much noise about misinformation. So maybe they're holding the money, right?
So you think the business people are holding the money?
Oh, no, I've met business people, I've told them on economic management, I've had several meetings with them, and I believe, as an economist, I believe they're keeping the money. Because you can look at the central bank can look at the balances, right? You can know who or what, if you want to account how much money the central bank should be able to see, they can see it. If they can see it in the commercial bank, it means it's out there. So the problem we're having is that when the money is outside the central bank or the commercial banks, you have no control on the monetary policy. There can be no monetary policy control or fiscal policy control when the money is not sitting in the bank. So monetary policy fails. All right? When you hear the people talking about Federal Reserve, all that monetary policy is because those monies are sitting in banks. Where the money is not in the bank, monetary policy becomes ineffective. It's not effective. It just doesn't exist because you don't have control over it, you know, on the movement of that money, because it's outside in the informal sector. So the strategy we have developed in the last is to develop instruments to get that money out of that sector. That's the monetary policy instrument. The CBL people will talk more on that, but they'll call it inflation targeting. So they'll go interest rate targeting rather. The targeting the interest rate. Now interest rate is around 25%. The strategy has been that if interest rates are high, then people should have an incentive to want to invest in interest rate 25%. If you give the CBL $100 US, you get a $25 US in interest. So why do you want to keep your money? Why are you wasting money? You can earn $25 on any investment you make in the CBL bill now. Why do you want to? Well, even Americans, the people who have Americans and Liberians in America who have pension funds, I mean not pension fund, but they call it 401k, they're earning 5%. So they're losing 20% because they don't want to put their money into the CBL. So those are the instruments. Now, I think around 12 billion Liberian dollars have been invested in this instrument. There are all these controls we've had. The question here is that when money is outside the banking sector, I can tell you as an economist right now, if we did an experiment where all the Liberian people agree and the business people say, okay, let all the Liberian dollar come back in the bank, the exchange rate will drop by 35 to 40 points tomorrow morning. Whatever the rate is, when all the money come back in the bank, the rate will drop down immediately. You want to try it? You won't believe to what I'm lying or telling? Let's put the money back in the bank. Let's see that result. The rate will drop further. So when the rate is not out, then you see all kinds of problems in the situation, and the government is addressing that. The CBL and the Ministry of Commerce are going to be coming up with a statement to show the different things that are being done. We don't have an right now we don't have a policy to say you can't hoard money, right? In some countries they do have it. Some countries say you can't keep a large amount of money under your mattress. You can't. It's illegal. I don't think we discussed this at EMT, we don't have a clear economic policy or a legislation against it, say you can't hoard. So if a businessman is keeping $1 billion on him, legally, we don't have a way, legal. But the legislature is coming back. We're going to put all of these instruments on the table, all right? So we can say that the problem now is, so we're working, even the rate is coming down. One of the major issues is that even though the rate is coming down, people are not seeing the, when the rate.
Let me ask you this question.
Yeah.
The rate is coming down, the scarcity of the Liberian dollars, but yesterday people are selling goods the way usually is very high. What is the problem, or what's the government doing about that?
Okay, so there's another thing we need to understand, and there are students who study economics at University of Liberia, at Stella Marie or AMU or some of our colleges around here. They should have a basic understanding of this, but it's surprising to you that even though they study these things, they still come in the public and ask the question, what is the government doing? Technically, there's something called sticky prices, meaning when the conditions are not favorable, like exchange rate, you saw the exchange rate of 120, right? It started going, I think it reached 200. Prices go up. That is normal economic prediction there, yeah. But then when things become favorable, right? Economic theorists say, and people have won the Nobel Prize on this thing, and I mean saying it. They say when things become favorable, the prices will not adjust in the short run. They may or will adjust in the medium to long term. There will be a new equilibrium. So let me give you a practical example. The rate is 200, right? It was just that a few weeks ago, right? So let's take it at 200. Let's take Musu, Hawa, right? Selling Lapapito, right? One bowl of rice. That's what. So if I have $5 and the rate is 200, I have how many Liberian dollars? I have 1,000 Liberian dollars. With a price of $200 per bowl, I can eat what? Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. Is that correct? Or some Joe, some Philip out there, some pimping guy can pack a car every Monday and eat 5 times on $5 to a Lapapido. The rate drops to, let's take it arithmetically, the rate drops to 150. What does his father give him now? So he can eat what? Monday, he can eat Tuesday, he can eat Wednesday, he can't eat Thursday, he can eat half bowl to Mahawa play on Thursday there, and he will go hungry on Friday because of the new situation, right? So who is losing? Philip, the pepper man out there, the Joe Blow out there hustling day and right?
The end consumers.
The end consumers are losing, right? Well, every camper we call it 404. The 404 people will be losing. Who's gaining? Mahawa, Mamusu,
The business people.
Well, let's stay with our Lapabido economy. Musu is a gainer. Why is she gaining? Because she can go into the parallel market, right? And get more US dollar for the cheaper Liberian dollar, right? And then come and sell at 200. But can she do that forever? That's what economists say. There will be a downward adjustment to a new price equilibrium. So Mahawa will profit small because if the rate stay 150, she can't keep it at 200. Let me tell you why she can't keep it, right? So because you see the man, he's not eating Friday, right? And he's not eating Friday. There's a reduce in demand. You notice that? Demand reduce. He's not eating Friday. Demand. So that demand reduction, if you put it to all the Lapapido, all the country, people will start eating less. Who will be selling less? Mamusu will be selling less. Mamusu doesn't want to sell less, so what she will do? She will adjust. But if Mamusu will adjust, you think Mahawa will stay at 200? So that's a downward economic adjustment. I don't think that you see in textbooks, so all that demand curve, that's why I'm explaining in Liberian English like now. So that had a downward adjustment will start happening if the 150 exchange rate is the new equilibrium. It has to be an equilibrium. So economists say there will be a search for equilibrium. You don't know yet. You go to 140, then money I changed $10 and I got 1,400. So it means that rate was wow, 140, right? Somebody say 150. So there's a search for a new equilibrium. So in the medium term, if there is an equilibrium that stays long, the price will adjust to that equilibrium because there is no way for somebody to make large profit. One person will want to get all that profit. And so economic theory says everybody will go get that profit and then the profit will go to zero. So that how the price will adjust. So we just asking, it's not a government. So to the other economic student at the University of Liberia, you educate our people about this. Don't say where the government, that no government can control that dynamic in the world. People want economic price on that kind of theory. It's not possible. It's not possible. I'll give you another practical example. Oil. My musu selling oil. Why you think she's selling oil $2,000 relay? It's because she go Banga to transport, right? She pay all that cost. Suppose the government come one day and say, transport between relay and Banga is free for 1 month. And my musu will get her oil free. When she go get her oil free, you think she will come to relay and change the price? Let me ask you. You think she will change the price? She'll still sell it at the old price. Because that's the price. Even though she finished getting free transport, she will not say, oh, I will sell it. She will not adjust. It will take long time because before she adjusts that. So all in all, we're saying is that these prices, especially in the Liberian dollar economy, will adjust. On the US dollar side, if something is priced in US dollar like a scratch card, I bought a scratch card $5 this morning. So even though the rate is adjusting, the price is still $5, right? So what I will do, I will go in the foreign exchange to take my Liberian dollar and change to the US dollar to go buy $5. Because the $5 price should not go up. If it's not coming down in the short term, we know economically it's not going to go up. So since we are benefiting on the Liberian dollar side, we're converting the US dollar and go trade, and that, so we're not losing on that side.
Honorable Minister, our country is not in such a way that we're producing a lot of stuff here to attract the foreign currency.
That's correct.
All of the countries around you, they're into the business of having a single currency. What's stopping Liberia from having one currency in circulation and we leave the foreign currency for foreign transaction alone?
And that is a fundamental, that's a very brilliant question. The reason why in Liberia we're dealing with all of these economic distortions is because we have a dual currency regime. So what that means is that we're different from Ghana. In Ghana, the people who have to worry about foreign exchange are the people who are trading with the rest of the world.
Sure.
Because anytime you want to trade with the rest of the world, the first person you think about is a money changer. Because you need euro or dollar. So that's the only. So your only thing is that here we have that. We have people who are interacting with the foreign exchange. Then we have people who are interacting between Liberian dollar and US dollar also. So it's a very complex economy. It's not as easy as Ghana or Nigeria. All right. The move we were trying to do is to go to the Liberian dollar, but through a route of de-dollarization. You can't force it. All the studies show that if you try to force it overnight, that we get up tomorrow morning and say the US dollar is no longer a currency, those things have all failed in several of the countries that have tried it. The way to do it is to strengthen the Liberian dollar, right? Provide confidence in the use of the Liberian. So the way the rate moving now is to continue to give the US Liberian dollar rate value. As we continue to do all the monetary policy things that we've done, all the fiscal policy, the government used to borrow from the central bank. The president has abolished that. We call it monetizing the debt. Anytime you borrow from the central bank, you increase the monetary base, you add to inflation. Economic theories say that. Our government say we're no longer borrowing from the central bank. We're now monetizing our debt. So that's contributing to a stable macro. All right. So by the time we do all these things, by the time we do the agriculture, by the time we do the diversification, what you will find is that the economy will be going to, will not be facing these issues, even if we still have the dual currency. All right. Even if we still have the dual currency, there will be less distortion, because there was a time where we had a dual currency and there was some stability. You know why there was that stability? Because there was a surplus of US dollar in the economy at the time. That US dollar has dried up a little bit more. So we are to a new equilibrium. Our economy in Liberia is searching for a new equilibrium under a new regime. We have new fiscal policy, we have new monetary policy. We're doing things in the real sector. All a combination of these things will settle on a new equilibrium, and you'll see that stability. But the answer to your question is we have in the long run to go to one currency. We are using de-dollarization to do that. So for example, government is now paying 20% Liberian dollar and 80% US dollar. There will come a time where government will start paying 50-50, and then government will go to 60% Liberian dollar and 40% US dollar. That strategy is to give more confidence to the Liberian dollar. That time is coming. Or you can't force it to. We can't get change it tomorrow and say we're doing that. No, we can't do that.
Okay.
It has to be phased.
Okay.
And the other part of that question is that we are also going to the ECO. You remember? You know, we are supposed to converge to one ECOWAS currency.
Okay.
So if we did that, then obviously we solved that problem by joining the monetary union, the ECOWAS. So the solution you are looking for is coming, but we want to get there gradually.
Certainly, for those of you just joining us, you're listening to the program Freedom on the Rise on Freedom FM 87.9, being relayed on the list of radio stations across Liberia. And we're being joined by our two colleagues, Kelvin Demi, he works at Prom FM, and that of Abraham Whale. He comes from Truth FM. They've joined us this morning, so they're also going to be part of the interview. But Kevin, you want to ask a question?
Yeah, I'd like to say good morning to Liberians and to you, Honorable Minister Samuel D TWEH. I'm here to peddle you in the critics' comments.
Sure.
Your critics is saying that you printed additional monies, specifically the currency 500, and you are the one in possession of that money to expend it only for elections. You care to have a rollover on that?
So you see, before you even ask the question, I think I answered it, right? I answered the question by telling the Liberian people what kind of money the government controls. So when the government prints money, any money, 4 billion, 10 billion, anytime the government prints money, that money is not, anytime the central bank, right? Through the government, through the central bank print money, that money is not for the government of Liberia. No, that's not government money. That's money for the economy. That's money for Kevin. That's money for AB. That's money for businesses. Because we have to use that currency, so it has to be printed. So it is a myth. If my critics are asking that question, they are ignorant. And it's sad to say that they would take all of the money that's printed in the economy and say it's for the government. What the government has are claims to those money. So that claim, so the currency will pay the government claims. So for example, taxes. People pay their taxes. So government is entitled to those taxes. Isn't that correct? Only government has the right to use government taxes. The government, under the law, when you pay your tax, it goes to the government. It doesn't go to a business. So where are we keeping that? We're keeping that at there. So let's just say, for example, this is a thought experiment. Let's wave a magic wand and eliminate all the currency. Let all the currency in the country disappear. Let's just experiment, right? So there's no currency, no Liberian dollar out there, right? Then the government writes a check to pay Kevin Demi. Will you get paid? There's all the money in all the bank disappear this morning, but you are going to the bank to receive your money. You will not get paid. Why? Because there's no currency. So then we say, okay, so send the money disappear. Let print the money. Then we magically say, okay, bring money back in the economy. Are you telling me that money will bring it back in the economy will come to the government? I mean, you're not getting paid. So where you get your money from? That money will go to the central bank. Then you will get your money from there. The money for EcoBank will get it from there. All the transactions in the economy will come from that money. It is not government money. Let's get it clear. Government does not have. So the people who like to say government getting money, they don't know what they are talking about. They want to mislead the ordinary Liberian people. Government does not have that money. They control government.
Goods and services.
That's correct.
He goes to a goods store or service facility.
Yeah.
The service facility rejects.
So the one I'm saying now, everybody should accept.
Access the money.
So your question there is that the people will do mobile money, but then other people wanted to. So they wanted to go. They wanted cash. We're saying no. When you get a mobile money, don't go cash out. Because that idea, when they receive mobile money, then they're using it to go and cash out. Then somebody has to have the physical money. We say no. Just continue the mobile money transaction. So let me ask you, if you get your salary, what do you think you're using your salary mainly for? Let's take a typical person who's making $400 in the government. When that person gets $400 every month, what do we assume they're using that money for? I mean, what do we assume they're using the money for mainly? Well, they will take care of food. But I don't believe that they're going to eat that whole $400 on food alone, right? So sometimes maybe they're buying something, they won't go buy zinc, right? So let's say 50% of that money there, they will use it to, they're trying to build house. I'm talking about a productive person now, right? They're going to buy zinc. So you don't think that they should use mobile money to buy that zinc, right? I can understand where to go buy the pepper. At this stage, maybe they may not need the mobile money, right? But the Kenya woman, in Rwanda and Kenya, they are taking mobile money with, they're selling paper with mobile money. So you think the women in Kenya who ain't go to school, they are more educated than the women in Liberia who ain't go to school? Other than, if you go to school, you ain't go to school, I don't care what you do, you're the same. Right? Woman ain't go to school in Kenya, woman ain't go to school in Liberia, are the same woman. Woman in Kenya who ain't go to school using cell phone, woman in Liberia who ain't go to school can also use cell phone. So let's carry it to them. Let me tell you the experiment that I think. You know the garbage situation we're having, right? All the markets. Every day, every market table is supposed to provide, I hear $10 to the Liberia Marketing Association. Right now, when they pay that $10, they're paying it cash. Do you think the person they're paying that money to is carrying all that money to the bank? Maybe not. Suppose we say 20 market tables should have one cell phone. Every 20 market table should have one cell phone to pay their table fee by mobile money so the money can go into an account. We eliminate corruption and waste in real life. So, because the challenge will be, you say all the market women will get a phone, who will buy the phone? So we say no. 20 of you put money together to buy one phone. Then you use that phone, every time you use that phone to send your own garbage money or your own daily fee. That money you will see great efficiency improvement in the whole marketing system. And if they start doing that, if 20 market tables start sending mobile money $10, what the next thing will start saying, oh, but if we can do it for garbage, why somebody can't pay me for pepper? Why do I have to even be worried about holding money on my table? Because they worry about somebody stealing that money there. Every time the woman put the money on her here, she worrying and saying, maybe somebody can carry around and take it. So she's scared. So if she start going with mobile money, we can start educating our people. Those are the digital frontiers that we have to go to solve our problems. So that even when we change all the money that come back in the bank, we can't allow it to go back again. And the reason why it will not go back is because of these changes. Very soon, the government will be rolling out some of these digital in the payment of salary through a program called the EFT. The Controller and the Accountant General, the CBL, Ministry of Finance, others are working on that digital frontier. We're working with the central bank also to do what they call, it's a technical word, interoperability, so that whether you Orange, you Lone Star, you don't have to stay in Orange Lane. Right now, Orange Lane, Orange people have to stay in Orange Lane, Lone Star people have to stay in Lone Star Lane. With interoperability, you can transact between Orange and Lone Star. So that work is also coming.
So, Hon TWEH, while we are talking about money, let me break this aspect down. We are all journalists from a cross-section of media institutions, and I'm sure this is one thing we are confronted with on our different shows. Every time people will call, we need to pay at this institution, even though the government had announced that their salaries disbursement into the accounts of those institutions. But yet and still, some people will say they didn't take pay. So other people will say they not take pay. So what is how come certain people can take pay and certain people can't take pay? That's one. My final question on the issue of my salaries, and I'm quite sure this is what's on the table of most media platforms. This concern is mounted on an every week basis. It says the death of Archie Pompon is as a result of the judicial staff salary. They are claiming that you made promises to them, you have not paid them. What's the conversation on their salary thing?
Okay, so let's get to the first question. Government is paying October. You know, people want to find things to politicize. When there are not many things, people want to find things to politicize, and salary is one of the political animal, right? One of the things people want to kick around. Government behind 1 month, 2 months, people try to politicize it, blah, blah. Government is paying for October. Government has paid some people and is continuing to pay. It's a process. The way we do the pay thing, let me so the public appreciate this. At the beginning of the month, we start with zero balance in the account. Then Oliver can pay tax of 1 million. Then the government get 1 million. Then Kevin Deming pull 2 million government taxes there. Then the government get 3 million in that account. Right? We have to.
Sorry, a point of correction. I mistakenly said dead. I said since the dead. My apologies. My colleagues are correcting me.
No problem.
Yeah, my apologies.
But Archie Pompon.
Yeah, Archie Pompon.
Yeah.
He's still alive.
Yeah, okay. So now answering the first question on so people can appreciate the thing they call salary, how it is paid. The government has to build up $24 million in that account. Then a whole month's salary is taken care of, right? Okay. So the way it works, the government doesn't wait for that 24 million to come. So I just told you, people paying the taxes every time, their money dropping in their account, and when the salary is due, the government starts to pay. The government has priority. Teachers who are standing up, health workers, they tend to go first. So obviously, political appointees, when I get paid, they are the last, right? So sequentially, because the money comes in sequentially, the payment cannot be in bulk. So we are waiting for 24 million, and who told you say the 24 million can hit the account on the 24th day of the you think how it works? From day, let's say that day one, the first month of the year, you think when you reach the 30th, is the assumption that when you reach the 30th, then you get the 24 million? Some months, when you reach the 30th, you get 40 million. Some months. Other months, when you reach the 30th, you get 15 million in your account. You see it? Revenue is not paid at the same rate from month to month. Because there's a time where a large number of people owing government, they pay, and the government account get fat. There are months where revenue trickles in. It will come. So there's a delicate balancing act that the government has to do or that the military has to do. So all we can say is that we've stabilized salary. Right now, government is paying for, we're in the month of November. We are preparing to pay for November, but we are delivering what? October's salary. Yes, some people have not gotten paid for October. Their process may be at the banks now, so that's that. Let's not politicize that one there. Let's also appreciate the government that despite the difficulty, people are basically sitting home and receiving their salary.
You not call the people back of the president?
No, they still have people sitting home receiving their salary. In other countries, even in the great United States that has all the money, they furlough people. Meaning, they put you down for some time, you'll not get paid on the government. When they're ready, they'll call you back. What they call furlough. That's a strategy. They say, my man, the government right now is revenue low, so go sit down. When we say you not work, when the revenues get back up, you will come back and continue your salary, or you'll free the pressure up. Other places, they negotiate certain amount of pay. Here, you sleep from morning to night, all day, do nothing for the government. You have been paid in the last 6-8 months on time. Let's applaud the president for that. That's a massive achievement. People need to ask the president, Mr. President, you are really doing well. People are basically sitting home, you didn't cut them, and you are paying them. So, we are paying people. So let me get to the other question now.
About Achille.
The other question here is, the Achille Pompon self-immolate because of quote-unquote 12-month salary every year? That's a lie. This government, central government, owes no government worker, and the judiciary is part of central government. We are paying people, all central government, for 1 month now, the month of October. So that means we're current. Yeah, a few days lag there, no problem. But all October people are being cleared so we can start the November process. So we're not owing anybody for a month. Right? 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, before you talk about 12 months. All right? What is the situation with the judiciary now? So you have to understand, again, you're the journalist, you're part of the problem in this country. And I'll be fair with you. Because you people are not able to communicate to the Liberian people in a way that they understand it. When you say the government owing you somebody's salary, it means the government owing that person there. Like the people who say they haven't gotten paid for October, the government owe them their October salary. You getting me? Yeah. That will call it. I will say salary. So if you say we're owing judiciary 12 months, it means for 12 months, nobody at the judiciary have received pay. Is that true? No. Everybody at the judiciary current up to the same way I'm current my salary. Because of the central government there. The issue with the judiciary is that there were some technical problems in applying the harmonization formula at the judiciary and at the legislature. Do you notice, have you asked the question, why since harmonization, the noise is with the legislature and the judiciary, but it is not with the executive? Show me the journalists that have asked that question. Let me see, who in this country have asked the question, why judiciary is making noise, why legislature making noise, but I don't see Ministry of Public Workers talking about Samuel. Something's not right. If I were a journalist, I would investigate that. And
Minister, are you trying to say because maybe the legislature and
So,
now the
they are
judiciary,
independent.
you want to say because of political reasons?
No, they are independent branches of government. So the way they did the harmonization issue is that the independent branches of government did their harmonization. There was a general formula, there was a general understanding, and they went and applied the formula.
By themselves?
Yes,
or
that is correct.
Okay.
Yeah, because the formula was clear. Do this, do that, do that. But at theory, when something clear in theory, it means a clear in practice. It was clear in theory and practice on the executive side. So in theory, the technicians had some glitches on those two sides, right? When that thing became prominent, the Ministry of Finance went in with them and said, okay, go. Okay. There were some issues here. Okay, here's how we go. Bam, 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 bam. We have solved those technical problems, right? So that means the rate at which they were, the formula applied was a little different than the formula applied in the legislature. So, but that correction has been made. It was not a cautious attempt. It was a tactical glitch. We say that, right? In the parliament. So we have now moved in to solve that technical glitch. That technical glitch then means that even though workers were receiving their pay in the judicial sector, like bailiffs and all these people, every month, they were not receiving the full pay. Do you understand that? So if you're supposed to get $100 and you're getting $90, that's not your full pay, right?
Yeah,
but does that say that you're getting zero?
No, that.
So if you receive $90 instead of $100, does that mean you receive zero? So you guys have been communicating zero when the people were receiving the 90. So what happened to the 10? I'm not saying that exact thing. It's just the example I'm using. So it's those corrections now. So it means we got to put the 10 back, right? The government has agreed, committed, along with the judiciary, the Ministry of Finance, to restore the 10.
So how long? Because Archie Pop on
This month,
he's been there for a very long time.
No, this
You went
month,
there,
in
you saw
October,
him.
they are getting that $10 for July, August, September.
Okay.
I'm just using the $100 as an
Yeah,
example.
just an example.
Again, you gotta be clear when you're speaking.
Yeah.
Because somebody will say, the men went on radio and said that the judicial people were receiving $100. Or that's an example. So even when you say example, you gotta be appealing for somebody not to misquote you in the use of that example there.
Yeah.
You getting me?
Yeah.
So I'm just saying for everybody to understand, they were supposed to get 100 and they got 90, right? So we're going back now and say the 10 for July, the 10 for August, the 10 for September, that 30 plus your 100. You know, you get a full amount now plus restoration. The last fiscal year, we say we are in touch with you. We'll continue to give it to you like in 3 months, until all the amounts that were due you are paid. That issue was settled.
Did you explain this?
They all understood everything, Archie Pompon, everybody. I was on there, the judicial worker applauded, the clap, the same minister is okay, we are happy, we're fine, yeah, that's it. They were very okay. That was it. That was the thing. We ended that agreement. We reached an agreement. Say, you're okay. We explain everything. They say, yes, we accept the rest. Because that's it. If you're supposed to get $100 and you get $90, and I say, I'll give you the $10, you get an issue again? Do you have an issue? You can have an issue. Okay, you have an issue. So why you didn't give me the $100 that time? You gave me the $10 now, or you might put interest on it. Or maybe that's the issue you get. But the issue is that you get your money. So you agree, and you are getting it now in October. 3 months. So you're getting it. So actually, my issue now is maybe during the process, these people started to spread misinformation. Some people that the Chief Justice took their money, that all kinds of things. I went there. I saw some of the behavior to the justices. I was alarmed. We have to stop that.
Since the incident occurred, have you been able to reach out to Archie or maybe extend your own greetings to Archie as to what has happened?
Oh, when I went there, in fact, before Archie did that, there were people who were on the ground. I facilitated a car was stopped from going out, and they went to the hospital. There were some people who were, I think the police did something that I've been engaged with them. And I have been engaged with the Archie situation at the hospital there. Yeah.
Okay, let us move on to the MCC report.
So I hope we are very clear.
Yeah,
and when you're communicating this thing, you see, if a journalist knows the fact, the journalist has a moral responsibility on the air to correct the fact right there when somebody distorts that fact, because you know the fact. So one of the challenges with you is that you got to search for the facts so that when callers call
You're not
in,
researching
The
what
minister,
you are
try,
saying.
let us move on to
Minister,
something.
Minister,
ask me
before-
first.
I'll
before-
deal with you.
Yeah, but
Let
Minister,
me-
before we
let
get
me
on, before we get on to
Yeah.
the issue about the MCC gray sheet, I'm still concerned about this current monetary crisis we are faced with, which is reputational. And one aspect there has to do with, I like the fact that you said that you people want to make Liberia a cashless society. In fact, the last time when I listened to Janga Kuo, and he was talking about how civil service salaries will now be paid through the process of mobile money and so forth. That was a laudable venture. But some of the issues people have is a service charge being imposed by these mobile companies.
That's correct.
These mobile money companies and so forth. And that's one of the biggest challenges that they have. Now, the issue about the world over, despite America and all of these Western countries being cashless, you still find people in queues at bank, but it's not like you find them, they are just, it's on compulsion that you have to be in queue. So for convenience, you can sit home, you do these transactions. So now, these assurances are key, but we want to know at what point do we arrive at this digitalization of our economy, which is very much strategic. How can one, because if you pay a civil servant and then you tell them, say, okay, I want you to be cashless. That's what I'm paying you through mobile money. And then you are now going to transact. If you look at the various business entities here and there, the last Commerce Minister who was there, Professor Wilson Tappet, they came up with a policy that press tag should be a various, merchant centers and so forth, so that if I were to go out of the supermarket and I said, I'm not gonna go ask the man and say, how much is this? I already know how much I'm supposed to be paying. You found these things very much challenging yet. So the question now is, what are you thinking about talking with the GSM companies and so forth, so that we try to see to it that we receive the service charge? The next thing there is whether we can incentivize people who do transactions through mobile money. Because if I'm doing transactions through mobile money and I'm buying cheaper for just transacting through mobile money, then I will eventually have to say the best way to buy zinc is to just use the mobile money, because I'm buying it in mobile money, I buy it cheaper. If I'm using cash, I'll buy it very expensive. Those are videos through which you can use.
And I think that's where the conversation is going. The biggest discussion we have in the government now is the digitization of the economy. We've been having this discussion in fits and starts in the last 2 years. Interoperability, CBL, the national switch, all that conversation has come to a head. In fact, there is an EMT, I think, tomorrow, just on the digital economy, bringing all the players together to address these service charges. So the government is engaged with all these people, right? So that we can provide the necessary incentives that you are talking about. It's at the center. Because we have now seen that even if you bring, I don't know how many billion Liberian dollar, you replace all the money, it can't buy in the bank, everybody bring all the money buy in the bank. If you don't do these new things, right, the money will go back outside the bank. So we don't have an option so that when that money comes in the bank, these are the new instruments, the digital instruments. So we're working to address all of these incentives, dysfunctions, or asymmetries. If people are charging, we're bringing that issue to the table and imposing a charge that's consistent with the rest of the economy and optimal. So optimal pricing, the economists will say, is what we're going to go for. All of the telcos, the Lone Star and the Orange, are all agreeable to these new approaches. The big merchandise players in the economy who are selling big things, they also are all agreeable. Because if left hand is doing something and the right hand is not doing something, that's asymmetry. No, we want symmetry such that the two hands match. So if you start a mobile money transaction, you do not need any cash out endpoint. You can continue to loop payments in perpetuity. You know what I'm saying? So that there will be no point where you say, I won't go outside for cash. There may be a need for that, but we want to reduce that need to a marginal level so that most of the transactions can just be through mobile money.
So like that, you will now say that people should get their driver licenses through mobile money,
Let
get
me
their
tell
passports
you
through
what
mobile money.
Let me tell you. We have been playing with, there are game-changing things that the country has been playing with. The need for biometric identification for 5 million Liberians, as we speak today, is probably one of the greatest priorities of the government. Prime Minister Modi of India has 1.34 billion people. All of them have biometric. Liberia got 5 million people. we should be able to put everybody on unique identifier. When you do that, you help this whole digitization process. You help so many processes, even with election. You help everything, because all government workers, right now, almost all government workers, I think only 15,000 government workers have still not obtained biometric identification now. That is a prior action on our IMF program. So in other words, Liberia will not receive the next disbursement from the IMF of I think 38 million if all 70,000 government workers are not. That a negotiation on with the IMF. We're trying to fix the date. We won't achieve that before the IMF goes to board in December. We're looking at the practicality. We have done about 70%, 80% already. We're just talking 15,000 workers. And some of these workers are in Monroe. 5,000 workers in Montserrat County, all right, in Montserrat County have not been digitized. The question is why? Why would somebody be, the IMF has a suspicion that if there is a reluctance for people to go for biometric, it means those people are ghosts. And we all say yes, because there's no reason. I can understand if you say somebody in Bokonjida, in Matuken, where my pa came from, in Vahun, way in the recess of these places, if somebody not digitized there, everybody can understand that one. Right here, in Ministry of Finance, in Ministry of Public Work, in Ministry of Health, you say a worker that doesn't have biometric here? No. We won't understand what we're on. And that understanding we've been searching, you know, with the late Batten Yusuf, peace be to his ashes, to his soul, who was part of the team helping to save government money, meaning they were identifying all these people along with Vietnam, with the NRMA, because they saw strictly $2.2 million savings just because of the biometric thing. The potential is that that's a minimum. It means that just a small 1 year. When we put all 70,000 people biometric, we could save 78 million. That's the assumption. And we believe it's realistic. So, and not only that, so we need to externalize that to the entire country. 5 million people need to be uniquely identified. To do that will cost the country around 20-25 million. We need to spend 20-25 million to save 100 million. That's the decision that we're going to make. The next budget that comes in, we're putting it on the table. Let's spend this money and solve all our digital problems in the economy, all our issues, because you can, I mean, the symmetry will just be massive. Just like India. Let me tell you the example what happened in India. The Indian government always delivers subsidy to the farmers. But to get those subsidies was difficult. You have middlemen who were involved and they were very corrupt. So the government gave Kevin Farmer 500 subsidy or $50 subsidy. You probably only getting $15. The minute saying, my man, the cost to get that thing from the government, all that thing, so the farmer only receiving $15 when some farmers will receive $50 because middleman involved. Prime Minister Modi said, no, I'm not here for that. He put biometric there, straight from the government, straight to you. You get your $50. What happened to the middleman economy? It dissolved overnight. The man eliminated $1 billion economy. It will value tens of billions of dollars because of that digitalization process. That is what sustains him in power today, because he's now in direct contact with the people. We can do the same thing here in Liberia. India have done it. We can do it here. And we are on the path to doing it. These are the game-changing policy changes that this government is doing. And then when a journalist like Philip Wisek can say, this government is not doing no policy reform there, there's somebody get angry.
Minister TWEH, let me take you to this, but before we go to that, let me just announce to those of you just joining us, we playing host to the Minister of Finance in person of Minister Samuel D TWEH as our guest on Freedom on the Rise. We've been joined by some of our colleagues in the media, Kelvin Demi, he comes from Prime FM, Abraham William comes from Truth FM. Oliver Khan runs the afternoon show. Austin Kawa is also here. My name is Sekou Sharif, and the list of community radio stations and other institutions in Monrovia relay the broadcast: Puma FM in Bomi, Atina Radio in Grand Cruz, Smile FM in Grand Jide, Peace FM in Habel, and KMTV is carrying it live, Spoon TV, Sam TV, Front Page Africa TV, CDC TV. You just get a number of institutions as well this morning as the Minister of Finance. Now, I want to take you to the MCC report. Of recent, MCC came up with a scorecard where they placed the government in two of the positions that the government has been able to perform well, that has to do with the rule of law and that of the fight against corruption. Your name has been involved into 48 million Corona money. there are allegations that you didn't do well. Based on that, people allege that you in fact knew about the death of the late IAA boss and everything. What have you to say to that, Minister TWEH?
Really? Is that conversation happening to me?
Certainly.
I mean, 48 million?
Yeah.
Yes.
You've been linked.
Me, I've been linked to 48 million?
Yeah, the conversation is all on Facebook.
I've never seen that conversation though.
That's why you're here to counter those.
Let me deal with that one first. Okay, let me tell the public first. My knowledge of the COVID funding that has been received and spent by the government of Liberia, along with partners. So there are two things. You have the government, the Ministry of Finance, representing the government of Liberia, right? And you have all of our development partners, the World Bank and all these other people. The government of Liberia has transferred through the Ministry of Finance $5 million to the National Response Team, the MPhil Ministry of Health, that I signed. So in other words, working on behalf of the government, I have transferred $5 million to the people who are implementing COVID, a government contribution. Isn't that $5 million? You doing a count?
Yeah, sure.
That $5 million, that physical money that has been spent, right? They use that money to pay people, all the hotels, all that stuff. So $5 million from the government. Hope you're taking note. All the development partners have indirectly, you get me clear? They didn't give the money to the response team. They spend it themselves. USAID, many of our different development partners, right? They have indirectly, so the government directly transferred 5 to the team. Those development partners have transferred some 4 million indirectly, meaning they spent the money and brought the report. They didn't give the money. The only money received by the IMFC and the people who are doing the response are the money that the government gave them. So this indirect money is still government, right? But even though somebody else spent it and brought the document. So let's add it to 4. The other major money comes from the World Bank, which is not controlled by the team. That total expenditure is 7 million. These 3 amounts are the only monies that have been spent in the response to date. Other monies may be in process, like the World Bank promised 17 million, we spent 7, and we still have 10 to spend. It's in that process. It's not being spent yet. So if you're asking for how much has been spent, that figure is the 5 and the 4 and the 7. So you're talking around some $16 million that has been spent on COVID. 48 million was a budget. A budget is a promise to receive and a promise to spend. That's a budget. I will give Kevin Demi $500. He goes to make a budget. I will give him. So he goes say, when Mr. TWEH give me that 500, I will give my Jew Bob. Oh, my wife. Let me correct it. Sorry, I'm making no Jew. I'll give my wife 100. I'll do the other 100. He makes a budget. And Mr. TWEH said, my man is a ruffle. I'll give you 200. What happened to Kevin?
Are you listening?
What happened to Kevin? Has Kevin spent 500? Kevin had a budget for 500. TWEH gave Kevin 200. Renee on his promise. So what you have to do to your budget, you have to adjust your 500 budget to 200. So the $48 million is not cash. All right? It's not cash. It is a promise. The money they have received is around spent is around 16. The money the Ministry of Health and the government people who are the targets of all the political people who are talking now, the money, the one they handle, the physical money that they spend, that they disburse among themselves as government entities, that money came from the Ministry of Finance. I signed it under the president's instruction and we deposited it to them. The IAA process, they set up a whole team, PPCC, all have been part of that. So every compliance check has been done by IAA under those processes. So the reason we have IAA is to say, when a voucher is not clear, the IAA will not sign on it, and that payment should not reach to my desk. Anytime I sign in something, the IAA has cleared it. That's how we're working, right? I know this. Before I became minister, I used to work as a consultant. My pay used to be delayed at the Ministry of Youth and Sport. We're doing the LYEP project, and I used to be angry because they would say the IA has stopped that because I said, "Oh, man, I gotta pay people. Man, everything will carry out delaying processing." So that's a critical rule that the IA playing. Meaning they gotta check and cross all the things they agree before it moves to the next step. They're doing compliance. So that exercise today was a compliance review. The formal audit of COVID will be done by the General Auditing Commission. That audit is a prior action to the IMF money that will come and receive in December. So the data for that has been transferred to the GSC. GSC is auditing the amount spent, the whole thing. That amount spent, if you did the audit today, is around 16 million. 5 million from the government, about 4 million coming from indirectly spent. You see, you know how we do the food program? We gave 25 million to who? To the World Food Program. The World Food Program is expending government food money, is executing. That money does not sit in the government. It was transferred to the World Food Program, which is delivering. So when we come to the accountability side, the World Food Program is accounting to the government for 25 million that it expended. So that's the transparency around the whole thing. So all that other stuff you're hearing out there is all.
You think it's political, right?
Balderdash, it's political, it's bogus, and all that stuff. Don't listen to that.
Now, part of the MCC report, they talked about the rule of law. What you just explained, apparently you just try to provide the clear picture as to how transparent the government is. So we should not go into the aspect.
So
let's look at the rule of law.
The GSC audit will come on the COVID.
Yeah, let's look at the rule of law.
So under MCC, in the last 12 years, the country has failed the rule of law indicator. We've never passed it. When I worked with the Millennium Challenge Compact Development Team, we worked to deliver the compact. I was a lead economist working with distinguished Honorable Moni Ara Kaptan to deliver that compact. We wrote the constraints analysis. So when you look at all the previous years, we have always failed, even when we're at the stage before compact. Rule of law has been one of the indicators I, as a consultant, have been baffled about, and even as minister, we're still concerned about. How do we improve that image? This is the first time that we've gotten a pass of green. So if you look at all the MCC scorecards, they're all in red. This is a massive achievement. What that means is that the perception is we are putting all of the rule of law elements together. We are getting better. We're not where we are. There's serious changes that have to happen. In the rule of law category, on the investment climate, for example, the number of days it takes to resolve a case in the judicial sector is still large, right? Under the business climate, the World Bank doing business indicator, which did not come this year because of some methodological issue, will come next year. We are working with the judiciary to improve there, right? But this is a big thing for the president, for the government. The image the opposition tried to portray of the government is that the government is reckless, and this government is delivering, and people are recognizing this. Corruption. We also passed the control of corruption. The last year's score, we were at 0. We're at the median. The way the score goes is, if your peer, they call it comparators, if the other countries you are competing with do better than you and you stay the same, you fail. That's how the score. So you have to be at the median, meaning if 5 countries are competing and all of you got 50, 50, 50, then all of you pass. If next year 4 countries went to 55 and you stay at 50, you fail. Because you are not keeping up with the median. So when you look at corruption, for Liberia to go to 0.12, it means, we are doing much better than the people we are compared with, right? So we are improving. So we improve by that. But is that the improvement we want? No. We're not satisfied with that improvement. We want to do way, way better. This is why the president assembled the anti-corruption conference. and he has received an anti-corruption roadmap that specifies all of the structural changes that we need to make to enhance the fight against corruption, enhance the use of public resources, the use and management of public resources. Some of those things involve changes to the law. For example, we have to give LACC more prosecutorial power and to manage the asset declaration system. That is a structural benchmark under the IMF program. You see? So some of these things we're doing, we are being held for them. We have to meet that structural benchmark to continue to increase our resources from the IMF. Okay. We have to prosecute corruption cases in a very expedited manner. The strategy is to accelerate. They are now trying to do a special court and all of those changes are there. Right? The Whistleblower Act, when the legislature comes back, one of the things that will be put before them is whistleblower protection. Right now, if you provide information to government or to other sources about corruption, you are not protected under the law. Right? We need to find a way to protect you. So all of those things those are some of the legislative changes that are in the roadmap. All right? So on the GSC audit side, the Ministry of Finance has made significant progress for the audit of the consolidated account. The GSC in the past has always issued what they call disclaimers on the consolidated account. It means we don't trust what you are producing, we can't verify it because of no documentation. So Ministry of Finance, the consolidated audits in the past have had disclaimers. We are working so the GSC cannot issue that disclaimer this time, so we are working to provide all necessary information to the GSC. All right? We have delivered an electronic document management system, which will electronically document all government transactions for the ease and convenience of all future audits. We are piloting that with 6 of the large spending ministries, Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Ministry of Internal Affairs, Health. We're trying to roll those pilots. So it means going forward, any documentation or vouchers are going to be logged electronically. So when the auditor comes, the auditor just queries the system and has everything. In the past, they would have to go look at voluminous dark rooms on the Ministry of Finance. We just opened a new restaurant there. That place will open a restaurant, that place, all the documents and them being wasting. You got to go in that room that's smelling, open all folder, and the people, yeah. So GSC said, when we get a document, how can we verify this thing? We want to change that landscape. As we speak, we are publishing fiscal data every week. Go to the Ministry of Finance website. Go to, I see on social media, under Minister Samuel D TWEH, we issue all of these to see where government spending. Yesterday I was listening to OKFM and somebody was on the show, I think it was Julius J, and I think it was Abatuba, and he was saying the government can't release any information. And I almost like, I see, that's my problem I have. Why don't you tell this man that the Ministry of Finance releases fiscal report every week? Why don't you go there to read it? So how can the government be releasing all this public information that somebody is saying we don't know where the expenditure of the country is going? How is that? Okay. And then the journalist was to hold him to fire. So I was praying for Julius J to pressing her, but maybe it's slipping. So you see, I'm pushing all your journalists to feel the fire because I expect you all to master the information landscape. When the government is doing something, we can be releasing public report on fiscal transparency. Then somebody asks and say the government is not transparent, and you know we are publishing the thing and you don't say anything.
Honorable Minister, away from this MCC situation and the different reports on Liberia, the pundits are saying the best solution to all of the economic problems we have is to strengthen the agricultural sector. Your government, under WEA, has prioritized the construction of roads across the country, which will be a major triggering effect that will boost the sector. You've signed too many, financial instruments. The last time we witnessed you signing up to $1 billion, you had commitment from the African Development Bank, you had commitment from the World Bank, the Asian Fund, for the Southeastern Road, Northern Liberia Road. What is the status of this country in terms of all of those, financial instruments and commitment you've had over the period? Where are we?
Yeah, we're running with the road development. So in December, we're working to launch the Ganta Tapeta. So the funding for that is the road fund. We're working with development partners through the Liberia Reconstruction Trust Fund, where all the development partners are contributing, along with the World Bank, to that corridor. So Ganta Tapeta, in fact, Ganta Zwedru, is high on their radar. We are breaking ground first for Ganda's Tapeta to then commence discussion on Tapeta Swedru. Because the logic is that, and the point is, how do you finish Ganta Tapeta? You drive on clean road, moving from Sacred Pier to Ganta, you reach to Tapeta, then to go to Swedru, you join Hata. The economic value of the road is not complete. Unless you do the whole stretch, the economic return on the road is diminished. So this realization has moved the government or the development partner to deliver that whole stretch. Meanwhile, the Hapa stretch is coming this way, right? And you're making progress. Recently, there's more funding available to move the stretch from Fishtown going towards Swedru. We got some resources there. So we're arguing that under the president agenda, you're going to see that whole Monrovia to Hapa road paved for the first time in the history of the country. You have to allow that to happen. That will have ramification. We go on the Lofa side. We will be committed to reaching that road to Venjamin to Medicoma. No question. Funding already there. We're working with delivering that side. We have funding from eBay for the coastal highway. I think it's from Grand Cru to Sano. That stretch, Backleville. Backleville to Sano. That stretch going on. The stretch from. So the road, the challenge with road agenda, let's say it, is that it's expensive. It costs you, the country needs around 700, 800 million. The debt structure we have now, we have around 1 billion of debt, or 1.5 billion. 1 billion of that is from borrowing from the World Bank, the AFDB, and all our multilateral, other loans we have on our books. So you can clearly see the space is limited. The borrowing we can do now under the IMF program will have to be concessional borrowing with an interest rate of 0.5%. That one under the IMF program is fine. That's the space we have. We don't have much space to do borrowing, even at an interest rate of 2.53% under the IMF program. So if somebody came and said they won't give us $100 million for 6% interest rate, we can't qualify for that funding under the current IMF program because of debt sustainability reason. We have to fight with the fund. This is where me and the fund can have disagreements. I can battle them and say, countries have to continue to take loans to develop their future. My argument is, most of the problems we are solving are legacy problems. The 1 billion that we inherited came from the past. We still are not seeing the returns to the economy. Our government has to borrow more so that we invest and look forward. We can't be solving the legacy problems of the past in our administration when we didn't create them. We want to be creating investment opportunities going forward. That's the central disagreement between me and the IMF when it comes to debt sustainability. So my argument is that we should be more flexible to attract loans to solve roads and agricultural problems. We should generate the revenue that we have to solve some of the legacy problems. We can't look backwards, we must look forward. So even though our space is tight, we are still pushing for more borrowing in a guided way to continue to advance our road and electricity. On the electricity side, let me just say that it's going to be okay. CLSG is coming in December. In December, the president will move down to open. So all these CLSG means that the transmission line running through Cote d'Ivoire, Guinea, Liberia, and Sierra Leone. This will help the government, the country, bring electricity from Cote d'Ivoire, Guinea, anywhere. We can also export excess capacity. We can surplus electricity. We can export. We can sell to Sierra Leone. We can sell to Guinea. Okay, if we have surplus. So this is going to really change the landscape.
What will become of LEC?
LEC is the utility. LEC is going to be, this thing is going to be on the LEC. Okay, we're just saying it will help LEC to sell power. So if LEC has excess power from the hydro and other sources, and that we can't use, there's no need to waste that power in Liberia. So for example, let's say we have excess power to connect 1,000 houses, but the houses are not connected yet. But we have the power sitting. What can we do with that power? Under the CLG line, we send it to Guinea. And then the money comes to LEC. So it's a massive transformative investment.
Minister TWEH, let me ask you this question so we can go to the lines. Two major questions. One has to do with allegation against you that you and the Minister of State, Minister Natana McGill, went at the Ministry of Public Works, and allegedly poisoned the former Minister of Public Works, Mahmoud. That's been the issue in the country. People are alleging that you guys did it. What do you know of really transpired?
That has not been the issue in the country. The the mischievous, the malevolent and evil people who seek evil and doom for Liberia and can imagine all kinds of impossibilities are the ones having that conversation. It's not the people of Liberia that are having that conversation. I, Samuel D TWEH, Nathaniel McGill, will not poison, kill anybody.
Okay.
No question. That Mobutu Vladipa. Mobutu Vladipa, may his soul rest in peace, was one of the friendliest, most loved, jovial. I mean, how many trips did I go on with Mobutu? Right? How many trips? I mean, it's numerous trips, right? The Iton, me and him were there. All these trips. And the fun on the trip with the man is just remarkable. You know, he has this habit of, I mean, sharing joke through WhatsApp, and you will be cracking all day. He's sending you all kinds of photos and just the humor. Very decent character, very good man. Much like myself, a good heart. You know, how do you want to harm him? Who will harm him? Why? Why will we harm Mobutu? Why? How?
Did you
How is that
visit
possible?
the Ministry of Public Works?
Of course. Look, the Minister of Finance, Minister of State, we are all over the place. You know that. Everybody knows. How many times have we been to the Ministry of Public Works under this administration? Many times. We had several meetings. Ministry of Finance, Ministerial Complex. That's another side. How many times have we there? Having government meetings. We have government meetings all day to move government processes. So if we go, what you guys want now is to say, we should not work, we should not meet, because if we meet,
Did you take along with you food?
All the time I went to public work, we ate. Mobutu always bring food. Anytime we go to public work, we bring food.
They said one of you requested for
fish.
roasted fish.
I mean, so you carry along with you fish. Listen, food that you carry along with you fish?
Nobody carry food there. We order food. Me, Jeff Koji, Safwan Bay, I think Piso, I'm not sure there. The same thing we do every day. We go public works. When we go public works to eat, the work we eat. When you can't find out, you have to order to eat. So what is the question about somebody eating and then somebody getting sick and you say we poison? It's not true. I wouldn't. Okay. How do you to even respond to this thing?
It's good because there are a lot of things people say.
Yeah, sure.
So
but you sort of release from the family.
Mm-hmm.
The family
they
came
said
out
it, but
there
yesterday
really.
because
I don't
people think
listen.
that-
You know, in my life, listen. We don't need the approval. I would worry if we needed the approval of 100% of the citizens of the country to do anything. Then I would really be worried. We don't know where you need the approval of the plurality, not of the majority. I mean, of all. There will be some people, no matter what. I've told you, no matter what we do. I've argued with friends who told me, if God told them that George Weah will deliver New York in Liberia, they will tell God, let Liberia stay like West Point. Why would I waste my time with that kind of person? So don't worry, people will have to say what they have to say.
Okay, so before we go to the lines, what do you make of the referendum? Do you think it is important, or we suspend it for now?
No. Why should we suspend the referendum?
Council of Churches has issued a statement that we cancelled the holding of the referendum.
So who issued a statement?
Council of Churches.
I mean, they have their view, but I don't. Why should we? Why do
you think it is important?
It is important. For example, I mean, the term reduction. There should be no argument that moving from 9 years to 7 years, it's a good thing. Moving from 6 years presidency to 5 years, and let's note that this is one of the, I think, Macky Sall is the other president who tried to achieve that. George Weah is among very few presidents in the history of the world who are sitting and reducing their term. So the man is sitting and saying, next term I want 5 years. Rare, that's a rarity. It's a good thing. So 6 years looks like, 9 years is eternity, 6 years looks long. Most countries, 4 years, 5 years, you should be able to solve the problem of the country, right? So I think that's the country should support that. Dual citizenship, the country should support.
Why?
They should support because the dual citizens are Pele, Grebo, Bandi, Bassa, Loma, Madingo people who go to America. They were citizens. Now, under our current law, the alien nationality law, and the person who was on the show yesterday with Julius J also made a mistake, said the constitutional guarantee is wrong. There is a law that was passed called the Alien Nationality Act. It said when you take on dual citizenship, you lose your Liberian citizenship. We are not enforcing that law today because you know how we do the Liberian business, right? A Liberian man. So under that law, all Liberians who have taken American, German, Ghanaian, any other citizenship out, if they own land in this country, the government should take that land from them. If the government is enforcing the Alien Nationality Act, that's a problem for me.
Okay.
A Bassa man who moved from here, also and become a German citizen or an American citizen, I believe should not lose his land because of that. No, I don't think so. Under the law, if you can prove, under that law, if you can prove that a Grebo Bassa Mandingo man holds an American passport and you know the property he has, you can file a lawsuit and the government can join you and you can move and take legally. We should take the land from that Bassa Grebo Mandingo man because of that dual citizenship. Is that what we want in the country? We don't want that. Okay. So we're telling our people that the people who want dual citizenship are your own sons and your own daughters. The same people who sending Western Union for you, that the same people who lands are in trouble if we don't pass the law. If you don't pass that law, it means technically they are not citizens and they're not entitled to land. That's what the Alien Nationality Act say. So, to correct that, you have to go correct that. So, I mean, I don't see any problem. So there are limits. The law will limit here. Say in Ghana, for example, in fact, in Ghana, the people say they are second-class citizens because they say you can't run for this, you can't be AFL, Commander-in-Chief, because you're dual citizens, and they don't like that status. But that's what they do. But they own land.
Okay.
Now, here they own land, but they are owning land because of lack of enforcement. Because we Liberians are choosing not to enforce something that's on the book. But that should not be a general reliance because I'm not enforcing something so it's okay. No, it's not okay. The law said they not own land. We choose to turn a blind eye. Let's fix it. Let the law say they should own land, then we're okay. And that's what we're doing. So we're encouraging all our people to vote. And more besides, this thing it's part of a broader conversation about diversifying the economy, right? Yeah. So as you begin to send this perception out of dual citizenship, it gives the country another image to move to the next level where we start looking at the structure of our economy, our land issues, and all of that. I just think it's good, and we should not stop. We should encourage our people to go down and vote for these good things. Right?
Okay, the Minister of Finance, Minister Samuel D TWEH is our guest. We can't ask all the questions because of time.
My apologies, just one quick, very important.
Okay.
And I hope you just be succinct with this. There are information coming in that you owe the Liberia Water and Sewer 6 months. The 15, they will be turning 7 months in salaries arrears. You care to just explain that quickly?
Central government, another correction. Central government does now owe state enterprises. So let that message. So phrase that question another way. You can say the Liberia Water and Sewer has not paid its employees for 6 months, but the government doesn't owe.
Okay.
So
what's the
phrase it like
of,
that.
the
Because
salaries?
when I say central government, all ministries, the judicial branch, the legislative branches, the agencies that are under the executive are the central government. The SOEs, the LPRC, the MPA, Water and Sewer, LEC, we don't control their payroll. So, no, we don't.
Who's responsible?
You just learning that? Okay, we got to, you see, we don't control their payroll. That's why they are state-owned enterprises. They manage their own payroll. But when they are in crisis, central government can bail them out. The crisis at LWSC is a serious problem. What we are trying to do is to remodel and re-engineer that whole utility. Right now, under consideration is an investment in meters that will enable them to mobilize more revenue, right? Because they're not collecting all the revenues they need to collect, and so we're pushing, the board is pushing them. But we think when we start putting that meter in, obviously the prepaid meter means that if you don't pay, you don't use the water. So you have every incentive to then pay to use the water, right? So in other words, there are some structural challenges there. We are asking them to cut expenditure. We're reviewing all their books. It's been an issue there. We're looking into it. Central government is working to solve that problem. We've authorized the payment of 2 months' salary for the workers. They are processing that. We'll look at the next batch. So this is a problem. I can assure the workers there that they're going to be paid. Okay? The president has instructed that we pay them. We work with them to solve the problem. Our job as government is to solve problems. If an entity like LWSC is dysfunctional and problematic, we want to turn that entity around into a cash cow. We are on that path. We are doing that. The same way LEC. Today again, LEC should be giving me money as Minister of Finance to pay people. So for example, LEC should have so much money that if there is a small fluctuation in the revenue such that I need 10 million to complete payroll, I should take that money from LEC and then assume all the money can give it back to LEC. But right now LEC can't do that because of all the problem. Look at power theft. They're losing 50% of the revenue because people are stealing power. Again, we are solving that problem. So the problem of government and development is step-by-step solution delivery.
Okay.
That's it.
Okay. For those of you just joining us or been listening to us, we have with us as our guest today on the program the Minister of Finance in person of Minister Samuel TWEH. He's our guest here this morning, and we've been really on Puma FM in Bomi, Atina Radio in Grand Cruz, Smile FM in Grand Jide, that's Strong FM in Monrovia, Prime FM in Monrovia, Live FM in Monrovia, KMTV in Monrovia, Spoon TV, SEM TV, Front Page Africa TV, CDC TV, that's Peace TV in Habel. They are all relaying this broadcast this morning. You're listening to us. My name is Sekou Sharif, alongside Austin Kawa, Oliver Kine, Kelvin Demi, Abraham Whale. We go to the lines now and take your participation here this morning on the show. Call us on 0776 104 104, 0776 104 104, 086 500 104, 086 500 104. For those of you out of Monrovia in some of the counties that are relaying us, we're going to give you two numbers, and you can call us on 0770 297016, 0770 297016, 0555 822 6633, 0555 82633 are the numbers for those of you out of Monrovia that you are joining us. We go to the lines and take some calls here this morning. Good morning. Good morning. Okay, let me take this person online here. All the course. Good morning. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Sorry, I have to intrude into the other town number. I'm clear on the Addison, the freelance journalist.
Okay.
I've called to make a recommendation to the minister. Mr. Minister, I recommend that you please improve the public relation arm of government ministries and agencies, meaning the Ministry of Finance. What you are doing today is a public relation company that was stronger, right, along with community radio stations across the country. Absolutely, what we're going through today, we will not. I'm from the National Patriotic Party, and this is my government, your government. So the public relation company, let me improve it.
Thank you. Thank you very much. We'll take another person on the line. This person. Good morning. Good morning.
Morning, morning.
Okay. Thank you. Let me take this person on the line here. Good morning.
Good morning to the Honourable Minister of History, Professor D TWEH.
Go ahead.
This is Professor Francis Akotwana, of course, by the tradition of the Let me appreciate the Minister of Finance on his analysis. But I just want to buttress one of the previous call. Now, from the level of estimation from the Minister of Finance is the public relation office of the Minister of Finance, all government agencies have been nowhere. I think we will not be experiencing the level of largest for opposition member. But again, on the issue of the dual citizenship, the referendum, I think I would appeal to the Minister of Finance that the issue of the referendum is paramount. Our people need to be sensitive. We are not seeing anybody in the rural community as someone who supports this government waiting to go around and educate our people. We understand that the referendum is in the interest of the ordinary people and not the political people who want to perpetuate themselves into power. So we want to appreciate the Minister of Finance. God bless him and take him.
Okay, thank you. This person, the next person. Good morning.
Thank you. So good. Mr. Pleasant, good morning to the minister. I'm Emmanuel P. Boluti, and I call you from the headquarters of the Veterans Bureau on the Bekobe Avenue into community this morning. Well, I'd like to appreciate the minister so kindly for his deliberation this morning. I think he eloquently elaborated to the public some of the challenges that this government is confronted with and some of the policies that the government is putting into place to ensure that they mitigate those challenges. And he also explained very eloquently to the public regarding what has been some of the achievements of the government in regards to resuscitating our economy and creating an enabling environment where every Liberian will have the equal opportunity and the equitable distribution of our country resources.
Thank you, Chief. Thank you. We need to take another person here.
This female caller, go ahead.
Hello?
Please go ahead.
Yeah, this is the speaker calling from Masari, number 9. I want to thank the finance minister for his presentation this morning. My concern has to do with the social services affected in the health sector. You know, Masari is a very large community. It is this Masari mortality is a alarming situation in my community. So I did a survey, and through this survey, I decided to construct a clinic. And the finance minister in there is a proud sponsor of this clinic because I sent her a letter to sponsor this clinic. I think it will be a very brilliant idea because it was a dream for the past representative also. So I would like to us to put hands together to construct this clinic. A letter was sent to him also.
Okay, thank you. That one, Ali, he listened, but let me take this person on the line here because he recently he told me okay, anyway. Oh, but let me take the minister. You guys just need to give us some time now. Let me answer some of the calls. Minister Ishaka Shari. Good morning.
Good morning, how are you doing?
Yes, we are doing great.
According to the indefatigable Minister of Finance, let me appreciate him for his great deliberation this morning. You know, one of the things the minister has done since taking over is to re-engineer the mode of budgeting because we have depended too much on particular export commodities where when the prices shrink, the economy get a problem. And this minister said the team, this minister has said we should not depend on iron ore, rubber, wood, and what have you, but we should graduate to more of agricultural activities and other things to bring us the foreign reserves that we need. And again, the budget minister to grasp the new budget year starting from January. I'm just saying that from this budget, that budget will start from January instead of June. Instead of July. So this minister has done extremely well in building the foundation of
Okay, Minister. Thank you too. Thank you. So the minister, let me take another person here.
Go ahead.
Take that person.
Yeah.
Morning.
Yeah. My name is Dylan. Go ahead and thank you for looking down.
Go ahead.
Let me appreciate the minister for my concern is going through to the issue about mobile money. Because mobile money have a lot of charges. Yeah, those charges therefore you say if I'm taking money from a phone to pay somebody.
So you're concerned about the charges?
Yeah, the charges. Let me take another person too. Thank you. Thank you,
Okay,
Chief.
thank you very much. Let's take this other person. Okay, let's see whether we can squeeze in this one. Hello? Go ahead. Let's hear you. Henry, leave the radio and go ahead.
What they told me that we have grown in the field of the income countries, I've found that many people that are doing banking into the banking sector are falling through all that. But every time they think I'm looking at the bank, people be growing this money. The so-called giving a lot of problems
Okay, Chief. Thank you very much. We take Representative Dixon Sibo on the line. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you guys? I think you guys are one of our minister. Thank you very much for your presentation. I don't know anybody who was doing it better than you claim. I want to call for a single reason on issue of what this company has been driving like crazy with the tankers. And I was shrewd and I was so cautious to ask when you spoke about the issue of confidence in the bank. I just want to share a thought that I think I want to see where you'll be able to be. I was the conviction that confidence in the banking sector is just one part of your confidence that carry the money to the bank. My issue has been considered, I don't know that.
Yes, you're live on the radio. Go ahead.
My issue considered has been an issue of money. Because you can print out the money, you can give out the incentive to get money to the bank. But if people have decided by all means that they will get more money, people will take an action on the issue of money. Because if there is nothing done concerning money, people who will leave Malaysia, people who will come here, which is literally fully aspect, they will not achieve or will achieve. So, again, I'm having a conversation with the guy. How we can wrap our head around the issue of money. I just thought to bring that point to you because then you talking about money in your discussion.
Okay. Thank you very much, Honorable Sibo, this morning. We have this question. Hello.
Good morning. Good morning, my dynamic brother, Super Visionary, and all journalists in studio. And this is good morning to my honorable minister, Samuel D TWEH.
You got 1 minute.
Minister of Time.
Go ahead.
My name is Maurice Kuma, the co-chair for Operation for National Response Defense Team, and I join you guys, my resident journalist, Maggie Barandi. Let me just commend the minister. I think the minister has said it all. But on the issue of giving, let's say, pay to the government record by using the mobile money, I think it would be the best thing that this government will do. I think we're able to satisfy with Liberia, and more especially corruption with it. Because if we try to receive money on mobile, I think it will help us to minimize some good things around government places.
Thank you very much. This person will take 3 more calls and then we'll call it a day. We go back to the minister so that he can respond to all of the questions and concerns being raised. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah, good morning. Let me appreciate our what's my recommendation to the government? People fish, people who make farming and those who don't register doing farming is what problem because they have creating secrets and countries. So that they are
Okay, thank you very much. We take this person. Hello.
Morning, how are you?
We're doing great. Let's hear you quickly.
Okay, take good morning. My name is Lucas Watson, and I call you from Liberia. Let me say thank you. I think the minister has spoken very eloquently and convincingly. Just looking, I talked to bring the minister's attention. This is why all of them the domestication of the activity and information to the Western context with the sub-political division of Liberia. But I just want to say, Mr. Minister, what have to do with capital flight? I think it is a serious concern which also has a greater
The second issue. Okay, thank you. Take one from you, the capital flight. Go ahead, Christian Yanti. Good morning.
Yes, thank you, Sekou. Let me say good morning to all the Liberian people and good morning to the minister. My name is Christian Yanti, and I joined the conversation from the headquarters of the Veterans Bureau and the People Avenue in the whole community. You know, let me appreciate the minister so kind, and most especially when Sekou asking the question, what sort of economy do we have in Liberia? And you talk about an input economy. That reflects my mind
to one of Africa's economists, that means Moya, when she was on a Tokyo symposium, when she presented and said that almost African country has an input economy, and he talked about the structural diversification of our economy. I think it is one thing that will significantly and will help our country if we can ensure that some of these things in our country cannot be imported. The issue of rice.
Thank you. This person on the line here. So we take this person and then we go back to the minister. One more. Yes, okay. Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning, Good morning, Kaoloka and Austin Kawa and Segu Sherry, and good morning to the country of Liberia. My name is Abraham Political Mojesetu, and I call for the headquarters of the Veterans Bureau on the most talked about Babuwe Avenue this morning. And basically, let me appreciate the minister for the unique presentation this morning. You know, I 100% agree with the minister when we were Kevin Derry asked the question. So, why say that big a deal, but one of the ministers was so succinct, he answered the question simply. Article 60 of the Constitution of Liberia says that government workers should take pay based on taxpayer money. And the minister said the reason why some government ministries can take pay on tax is the reason or result of paying tax. There are some the company can waste some in paying that tax. So I hope and pray that issue will be resolved.
Thank you, Chief. Thank you. The last person now, so we go back to the minister. He has to run. Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Yes, morning. Go ahead. Your name is joining us from where?
My name is Michael Williams, and I'm calling from Queensland this morning.
Let's hear you.
Good morning to our Honorable Minister TWEH. My concern has been drawn to the recent time about the local aircraft. We want to know as to whether this aircraft is a partnership aircraft or it is a Liberia-owned aircraft. That the government bought. If it is the government that pays for the aircraft, we want to know how much was spent to get it aircraft. Thank you this morning, sir.
Thank you very much. We call it a day on the calls. We are not taking calls. We go back to the minister. Minister, you listen to the callers. Concerns were raised, questions were asked.
Yeah, thank you. And let me begin with the last caller. I think it's an issue that the whole Lone Star Air. So, first, the government has not spent no money. Government is not spending money to buy aircraft. So let's get that one clear. So if you're thinking that, just abuse your minds of that. That's not how it works. So it's a public-private partnership. So the government, whether the government of France, the government of Belgium, government of Cote d'Ivoire, will always have partnership in an aircraft that having their name, right? So the right to use the name. So for example, you have that. So government will have share. These are private investments that are happening. Just because the president went and dedicate something does not necessarily mean that the government is buying it. President Weah has gone to Firestone, has gone to Magibi and other places to break ribbon for manufacturing firms. You remember I joined the president. Will you argue that because the president went there so that the government built the factory? No, that's where some people started taking the argument from. The whole process will be explained to the public. This is a transparent process. All the investors who are involved, the whole process, the rights, everything will be clear to the Liberian people. Government share will be made known, all of that. But the government is not putting, I'm the Minister of Finance, I'm not giving any dime to buy any something. When the necessary time comes, all of the necessary shares will be revealed to the public. So let's get that one out of the way. The general concern about info, and I agree with you. Look, this issue that the government is not communicating well is not true. Let me dispel that. The government is doing well with communication.
Okay.
There is an active, engaged propagandist arm within the political space that is dedicated to pushing falsehood in the public realm. The people who should man the gate of this falsehood, where I see the problem now, it's taken me 2 years to appreciate the problem, is the people who in the media landscape. I think that's where and I see the problem, because I see some of the questions that are being asked here. You guys who spend time communicating with the Liberian people should master the facts. Anytime a mistruth comes to the public realm, either in the form of a caller who's asking, in the form of something you read that you want to bring to the public, you are under moral, patriotic duty and obligation to provide facts to the Liberian people and to say, you know, whether this information is credible or is not credible or needs more investigation. I find that most of the people who are on the radio are not doing that. So you take the Achipompon case, for example, right? Somebody is having conversation that we government owe judiciary workers 12 months. The assumption is that for whole 1 year, for whole 1 year, people in the judiciary work and did not get paid. I mean, that alone is scary. Who can work for a whole year and not get paid and still be working? Whole year. The judiciary people, you go there every day, the courts open. How you say they mean where government owe them for 12 months? Not possible. So something should have said, well, something's not right. It's not possible. Let me ask the minister. Let me seek this information and start. So if everybody were providing information, no, talk about Achipompon. Don't say they were not owing him 12 months. They were owing them some money. Talk about some money. Don't talk about 12 months. If that information had gone throughout, if people are not asking the question this morning, it doesn't happen. So my recommendation, in as much as there's recommendations to the government to do decentralization, you're in the media landscape, you have to get your information right. You have to be able to check people who come into your show, check rumors that you're reading on the social media and tell the public that there was some information this morning on this, but no, this one doesn't look true. Logically, it can't hold because of or factually, we know the government did this 2 months ago, so this can be possible. So don't believe that. We'll seek more clarity. You're not doing that. That's where the confusion is on all these matters. So I will hold you to a higher standard, and I hope you'll live by that standard. I agree. For maternity, the social services, I think we need to do. I mean, what the government is doing now under this whole decentralized service delivery is when you look. I mean, when you look at the government budget, we're spending money, but sometimes we're asking that value for money in our communities. As minister, when I go engage with communities, you see people need toilet, you see people need water, you see people need very small things that don't require a lot of resources. The president called me the other day and said, Mr. Minister of Finance, Mr. Minister of State, I mean, let's look at water. Even though we're doing all these big water projects, but some communities just need small. You know, some of the first lady dedicated something for 3,000, 3,005. That can serve people. The president has ordered that we do small. You see, when you go Jalatown, you see those. You see some new towers coming up. Before Jalatown, you go there, you see the people putting. You see almost 200 gallons sitting and people in line waiting. We say that's you can solve that problem. Let's go to the community and structure the budget in such a way that people at the grassroots level can see basic services. They can drink clean water. Roads, look at the roads. It doesn't cost. You don't have to pave all the roads in the country with asphalt. You can just crush rock roads and just do those basic things. We should be doing it. And I can tell you, those are the things that you're going to be seeing under this president. So I hear you out, yes, on your clinic. I will give my contribution to that clinic because that's the mode we're all in now. Providing services to our people where we can. Ishaka talked about the January-December budget, and I didn't speak about that, but that's a good point he raised. I think we're migrating to that budget year. So the budget year will start from January to December, and we'll be in line with the rest of the West African region. Right now, our budget is from July to June, July 1 to June 30. It is out of line, so we want to correct that, and so we are preparing. That means that we have to do a 6-month budget before we do a whole new budget. So we run 2 strange budget cycles to achieve that. I think the color on the mobile charges, we addressed that first. I think this is a big part of the whole thing. The economic management team, the CBL, Ministry of Commerce, along with the telcos, this issue is a hot burning issue, and it's top on the conversation. So I can tell you that we are looking into that. All right. The whole thing about mutilated money, yes, it's about confidence. When you go to the bank to get money and you get all, mutilated money, or you can't get your money on time. Those are all problems. We are the monetary solution here is that from a policy standpoint, you're going to see the central bank have predictability in the coming months. Okay, we'll correct all that situation through the new Central Bank Act. When the legislature returns, those fixes will be there, so that when we reset the button, when we do the digitization, when we do all the policy things, people will have confidence, and the rate will even be stabilized further as we do our deep dive into agriculture, all of that. So better days are ahead for the Liberian people out there. Yeah, Honorable Sibo, thank you. I think I did mention something about the hoarding earlier on in the conversation. I did say that we don't have a policy right now on hoarding. It's not clear. You know, when we're looking at all the monetary issues in the last 2 years at EMT, we asked whether we call the Minister of Justice and, you know, some of the other people. It was not clear whether we have a law against hoarding. We don't have. So he's right. The Honorable is right, and that's something that the National Legislature can take up when they resume. They're coming very soon, so they can take up this hoarding thing. So if we publicize that law, if we pass that law, then it sends a signal to the market that hoarding is illegal, especially hoarding large sums. We're not saying you can keep $1 million, right? If somebody start keeping $2.5 billion Liberian dollar, right? You know, in quantities, then that one. I mean, you don't need to. What are you doing? I mean, that money should be resident in the bank. So you should have to answer some questions, okay? But yeah, we're not saying you can't keep large amount of money. But look at the quantum, $2 billion sitting now in a house. It can be.
Except for fact, these are things that you know are happening, or you just assume that that's
I think the evidence suggests that it is. It's out there because it's not in the bank. Where it's supposed to be. The central bank and the commercial banks can verify together where the money is supposed to be. Central bank has it on paper. And when central bank go verify with the commercial bank, not in the banks, what do you think it will be? It's out.
So it's not one person holding all of this money.
No,
it's people just having the lack of confidence in the banking sector.
Yeah, it's
and all of
possible.
that, the inconveniences that people face in getting their money. All of these things can lead to you.
That is correct. And it don't got to be a large amount. Yeah. If 10,000 Liberian people kept 1,000 Liberian dollar home, that's about 10 million, right? Yeah.
Yeah, each 1,000.
Yeah, each 1,000. So that's a lot of money at home. So if you do 10,000, you see that.
Let me just nail one down a final question. Do we have a clear-cut understanding of how much Liberian dollar is in our economy? My question is from the backdrop that the initial, under the previous administration, when the issue about the new currency came up, the only justification and of course the necessity that the government pushed through the bank, the push at that time, is to see to it that we get rid of the mutes on the market. Immediately when that money came in, we still see the same mutes in the market and they're still being exchanged and all of that. So now every time we are printing, we're just adding up money, so, with the very mutes for which money came in.
So the question is that if you got rid of the mute, you still don't address the quantity issue.
And that's what I'm asking.
Yeah, so that's the problem. So the larger solution is that we just need a little bit more money in the economy. So that's a solution. Right now, so if you took all the mutes and replaced it, so let's say the 4 billion that your question is the 4 billion that the bank printed, right? If you had taken all the mutes and destroyed them and put the 4 billion, what happened? You stay at the same level. What problem have you solved? Right? 4 billion money were mutes. You printed 4 billion and you swap. Have you affected the money supply? You have not. So the economy is such a point where the quantum of money we have is just too small. All economists have reached that conclusion. The CBL experts, everybody who's looking at the Liberian economy and looking at what happened in the last 3 years here, know that you gotta move ahead. It's not possible. So part of that solution is replacement of mutes, yes, but also monetary expansion. And let me tell you, it ain't because when you print, let's say you print $30 billion, that money doesn't go out outside. Recently, you read the central bank release. What they said in the release? They said they have pulled out 50% of the money. So that means when the money comes, it's in reserve vault. It's not money yet. It's not called money. It doesn't enter the money until it enters the operational vault of the CBL. That's where you can make claim. So let's expand the base. But more besides, that's not a fundamental solution. The fundamental solution is what we're talking about here. Mobile money interoperability, right? Where people are able to go cashless. That means the money will just be sitting in the bank and nobody will touch it. So that just electronic money will be doing debit, credit. When you go to your account, debit, credit account, debit, credit, all will be doing now. No money changing hand. And for COVID, we need to pay attention to that so that we can solve that. Government is currently paying people through mobile money. We're just going to formalize the process now. But a lot of people are getting money through mobile money, and under our new EFT program, the controller will just hit a switch under the new program, the controller will just press a button, bam, and everybody get paid. Under the current system, people gotta be doing this, the other voucher, the other documentation. Under the EFT system, the controller will press one button and everybody get paid. That's the system we're migrating to. Transformation, change is on the way. Forex Bureau, yes. Forex Bureau, I think that, you know, there's a lot of conversation when you hear about Forex Bureau. You know, LRA people are trying to collect taxes. You know, everybody should pay their taxes on time. There's a lot of rich enforcement, real estate, all that one coming LRA. Some people are not paying taxes. So businesses are not, you know, businesses that are not registered are not paying taxes. All that one coming. If you're a business and you're registered, you're not paying taxes. You got to register first. We're looking at everything. Okay. So if you're a Forex Bureau and you're doing transaction, are you paying taxes on those transactions? You're not. You're not right now. All that is on the table. All right. Once we have the stability we've been looking at these second generation reforms along with the IMF. You know, capital flight, yeah, you know, the evidence of capital flight is not too, you know, this is a word that is often bandied about, capital flight. That means that money is leaving the economy. We don't have reason. I think people look at net remittance. The evidence is that money comes in the economy and money goes. So when you look at on average the net, you can't assume that say there's capital flight. So all the money comes from Euro America in remittance. Monies that leave, when you do the net, we're still having a positive balance according to the CBL. So I think the assumption that, you know, there's capital flight is not warranted. It's not borne out by the evidence. So you know, I don't believe that we're facing the issue of capital flight. So in every economy, money goes up, but not because when money go out, then a capital flight. Now that's some people can see. So that's some of the things I gotta correct. Just because money, somebody see in the trade that $100 million went out of the economy, so they say that capital flight. We got to look at the returns. Those monies are going to buy goods and the goods are coming. Okay. All right? So you have to see that if there are large outward movements of money and no corresponding goods coming in, yes, then you are suspicious. Under the FI, the Financial Intelligence Unit, with the LRA, we are now watching, we're putting systems to watch that. So those are all coming. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, I talked earlier about structural diversification. I think that's the way we want to go. We want to solve our agricultural problem. We want to solve our manufacturing problem to produce more things here. You know, rubber. We're making rubber here. So if we start slippers, start doing some rubber things and using them locally here, that's great. We need investors. But the problem is that how can investors come when the cost of power is $35 per kilowatt hour? Who wants to invest in an economy where you're spending $35 per kilowatt hour? You fail from the beginning. You can't attract anybody who won't do any intensive manufacturing, even using our rubber sector. No, the person will have to be running generator and running fuel. It's not sustainable. So you're not attracting anybody. Well, after December, so early next year, that game changes. The price of electricity can come down to 14 cents per kilowatt hour. Change is on the way. Let the people be patient. This man we elected is delivering massively. Don't listen to the propagandist. They have nothing to offer.
Minister Twe, because of time, and I understand you got to run, before we leave you, you've answered all the questions. What is your own advice to Liberians as we move towards the December 8th election? There's too much violence, too many things happening, young people doing things out of the way and all of that. First of all, are you upholding the code of conduct first? Because people are saying that they've seen you on rallies and everything with Representative Tom Fine, and you are serving the Minister of Finance.
I have my right as a patriotic citizen to participate in politics. I will not do so using government resources and government time. So I will do so on weekends. Being Minister of Finance doesn't say, first of all, just by being Minister of Finance, you are playing politics. So the people who say that you can't do politics, your government, the whole business of government is a business of politics. I can make political decision in the use of government resources just because I go campaign. So suppose I bias policy to a certain region that is disposed to electing my candidate. Is that not politics I'm playing with the country fiscal finances? Yeah. And I can sequence and say, okay, the 3 next batch will go to that other region, but right now we're beginning with a region. What is the justification for that region? How did you select the region? So you can't separate government function from politics. So what we say here, yes, to go out overtly with government vehicles in government town where I'm supposed to solve the Liberian people problem and talk about politics. No, I'm not going to do that. Okay. Saturday, where I'm supposed to be with my junior boy, you know, leave that time and go tell the Liberian people things, I can do that. Sunday, I can do that. You never see me going that during the week time. All right? So, no code of conduct, no law. The Constitution of this current country guarantees me my right. Yeah. So I'm very clear. I'm very clear on that. And let me tell you about the peace of this country. This is the most peaceful country in Africa, and we are. It's showing you under the MCC indicator. Listen, look what's happening in our region here. How many persons? So don't listen to this thing and say, "Oh, there's no violence here." Even in the last 12 years under Madam Sally, what kind of violence? You see election in Ghana? You don't see election in Nigeria? The people car can be moving and go and tear it. Human being and throw the car away. You don't see nothing happening here? We are peaceful people. I know one thing about the Liberian man. Yeah, maybe when the war was happening, we saw violence. The Liberian man is an inherently peaceful man. We're not violent. We're not violent. So we have our political arguments, we have our political disputation. It happens here. We're not a violent place. Everybody sees that. The things that are happening in our region, how many persons have died from political violence in Liberia? You read the research, and again, this is part of the issue. You are the guy who sit on the radio. You should tell the Liberian people how many persons have died in Sierra Leone, how many persons have died in Cote d'Ivoire, 16, the last count. In Guinea, I hear some 9 on political related issues. Have you heard anybody die from that here? No. June 7 happened here. Did anybody die? No. The most are happening, they pour water on people. Huh? Are you kidding me? There have been marches here. Police have escorted. The police have given people water. The police have given people water in other places. You must go sit down. They can get water. Police can get water. Police can get water on us out. Yeah, police can get water. It's because the police, the army, they recognize that we have a democracy. Look, 200,000, 250,000 people die for us to get this democracy. It's priceless. Nobody can take it from us. The stuff that's happening around here can't happen in Liberia. We are equal to American democracy in the sense of term limit. No way. That's it. That's the invisible hand that is pervading Liberian democratic space. Nobody can extend the term. It's enforced by the will of the people. That is the maturity of our democracy. Let's celebrate it. Let's praise it. Let's come together and herald our country, because that's the only thing we have.
Thank you very much, Minister Samuel TWEH, for joining us this morning. I think you've said all. We say thank you for coming with this.
My papi, the only money didn't have a phone. Anything you want, you can just get a check like this.
And guess what?
What?
Even my school fee, that is see orange money. That is see umpa, that is see anytime I see go up, I just pay the pill. Come on, Piki. You and your owner power, you're always late. Yes, you're always late. With the orange money song, it can explain anything that orange money can do for us.
Orange money gets song.
You come and listen to it. Anything for that matter that you come and see.
Check that star 144 hash. Check that star 144 hash. Check that star 144 hash. Check that star 144 hash.
Orange money make life simple. Simple for my people. Orange money on my sinker. They got me feeling first class. Oh. With orange money, I can send money to my buying ganta. With orange money, I can send money to my mind loafer. Just that star 144 hash. Follow the instruction and do what you want. Just that star 144 hash. Follow the instruction and do what you want. If you want pay for LEC or pay your school fee, brother, you can use orange money. If you want buy your credit or pay your taxes, sister, you can use orange money. Oh.
Check that star 144 hash. Check that star 144 hash. Check that star 144 hash. Check that star 144 hash.
Apostle. Never. Apostle James. What happened?
Mommy, I told you patient, man. Every morning customer care people now won't pick up my call.
What exactly you want?
I just want to know how to unblock my Orange Money account at all. My picky, you know how many thousands of subscribers that Orange customer care can attend to every day? That you hear you suffering yourself?
Well, that's you talking about.
my picking, that all that problem orange money local and created or hard land or special hard land for you and myself. Tell me more. Thank you. Now, to reset your PIN and to unblock your orange money account, all you need to do that 555. Bam, that won't be your solution in your own hand. Now, for the agent, all they need to do, they will just that 333. What? As soon as they call my people within no time, hello, all of your problems will be solved. So you say 555 only for customer, instant connection. Then 333 only for the agent, instant connection, my people. I'm calling it Nana, calling it. Yeah, hello? Yeah, I mean, Apostle James.